The fluorescent lights of Patterson's bakery felt too bright, too exposing, as Tasha Brooks wheeled herself closer to the glass display case. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the worn leather purse in her lap. 24 years old today, and this was what her life had become. A small celebration alone with 4 crumpled dollar bills that she'd been saving for 2 weeks. The cakes sat behind the glass like tiny monuments to everything she couldn't have. Chocolate towers with swirls of frosting. Vanilla dreams covered in fresh strawberries. Lemon sunshine captured in layers of sponge and cream. Each one had a small white card with a price that made her stomach twist. $18 for the smallest cake. $22 for anything decent. The birthday cakes, the ones with "Happy Birthday" written in cheerful colored icing, started at $35. "Can I help you, sweetheart?" Mrs. Patterson appeared behind the counter, wiping flour from her hands onto her apron. She was a grandmother type, always kind, but Tasha could see the question in her eyes. The same question everyone had when they looked at the young woman in the wheelchair, alone, counting change. "I was wondering." Tasha's voice came out smaller than she intended. She cleared her throat and tried again. "Do you have anything for $4? The silence that followed was heavy. Tasha felt the weight of it pressing down on her shoulders. She heard the whispers behind her. 2 women in business suits had stopped their conversation to watch. A man in a construction uniform glanced over with something that might have been pity. Mrs. Patterson's face softened in that way that made everything worse. "Oh honey, I'm afraid our cheapest cake is $18. But I have some day-old cookies for $3 if..." "It's her birthday." The voice came from behind Tasha, young and bright. "It's her birthday and she needs a real cake." Tasha turned her wheelchair to see a little girl, maybe 7 years old, with light brown hair and 2 braids. She wore a bright red dress with white flowers and held the hand of a tall man in a green jacket. The man had kind eyes, the color of warm coffee, and he was looking at Tasha with an expression she couldn't quite read. Not pity. Something else. Something that made her heart beat faster for reasons she didn't understand. "Sophie, we don't." The man started, but the little girl tugged his hand. "Daddy, it's her birthday. Nobody should be sad on their birthday." The man looked at Tasha, then at the display case, then back at Tasha. He took a step forward, his daughter still gripping his hand, and smiled. It was a gentle smile, the kind that reached his eyes and made them crinkle at the corners. "I'm Nathan," he said. "This is my daughter, Sophie. Would you let us buy you a birthday cake? Please. It would make Sophie's whole day." Tasha's first instinct was to say no. To thank them and wheel herself out of the bakery and cry in her car like she'd planned to do anyway. Pride was all she had left sometimes. Pride and her crumbling determination to make it through each day without asking for help. But Sophie was looking at her with such hope. And Nathan's eyes held no judgment, no pity, just simple human kindness. And hadn't Tasha wished, just this morning, that someone would remember it was her birthday? That someone would care enough to acknowledge this day that marked another year of survival? "That's very kind of you," Tasha heard herself say. The words came out thick with emotion. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely sure," Nathan said. He squeezed Sophie's hand. "Which one do you like?" Tasha looked at the display case again, but this time everything looked different. The cakes weren't monuments to what she couldn't have anymore. They were just cakes. Beautiful, delicious cakes, and someone was offering her one with no strings attached. No expectations, just pure generosity. "The vanilla one with strawberries," she said quietly. "If that's okay." "Perfect choice," Mrs. Patterson said, her voice warm with approval. She pulled on plastic gloves and carefully lifted the cake from the case. "I'll write happy birthday on it. What's your name, dear?" "Tasha." "Beautiful name for a beautiful girl," Mrs. Patterson said, and Tasha felt tears prick at her eyes. Sophie bounced on her toes. "Can we sing to her, Daddy? Can we?" Nathan laughed, a rich sound that filled the bakery. "Only if Tasha says it's okay." Tasha nodded, not trusting her voice. Mrs. Patterson placed the cake on the counter and stuck a single pink candle in the center. She lit it with a long match and the flame danced in the air-conditioning breeze. Then they sang. Nathan's voice was deep and steady. Sophie's was high and enthusiastic, slightly off-key but filled with such joy it didn't matter. Mrs. Patterson joined in, and even the 2 business women and the construction worker hummed along. In that moment, in that small bakery that smelled of sugar and vanilla, Tasha didn't feel alone. She closed her eyes and made a wish. Not for her legs to work again, though she wanted that every single day. Not for money, though that would solve so many problems. She wished for more moments like this. More kindness. More connection. More reasons to believe that life could still surprise her with goodness. She blew out the candle. Everyone clapped. Sophie jumped up and down. Nathan paid for the cake, $22 plus tax, without even blinking. He handed it to Tasha carefully. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means to me." "You're welcome," Nathan said. His eyes held hers for a moment longer than necessary. Everyone deserves to feel special on their birthday. Mrs. Patterson boxed up the cake in pink and white striped paper and tied it with a ribbon. She added a plastic fork and napkin. When Nathan reached for his wallet again, she waved him off. "The wrapping is on the house," she said with a wink. Sophie skipped alongside Tasha's wheelchair as they headed toward the door. "Are you going to have a party? Do you have lots of friends coming over?" "Sophie," Nathan said gently, but Tasha smiled. "No party this year," she said. "Just me and this beautiful cake." Sophie's face fell. "That's sad. Birthdays should have people." "Sophie, that's enough," Nathan said, but his voice was kind. He held the door open as Tasha wheeled through. The parking lot was mostly empty. Tasha's old car sat in the handicapped spot near the entrance. The paint faded and one taillight held on with tape. She transferred the cake box to her lap, balancing it carefully. "Which one is yours?" Nathan asked, gesturing to the parking lot. "The blue Honda," Tasha said. "I can manage from here. Thank you again. Both of you. This was the kindest thing anyone has done for me in a very long time." Nathan looked at his daughter, then at Tasha, then at the cake balanced precariously on her lap. "Would you like some help getting it into your car? And maybe—" He paused, seeming to consider his words carefully. "Maybe Sophie and I could follow you home? Make sure you get there safely with the cake? It would make Sophie happy. She's very invested in your birthday now." "Please," Sophie added, clasping her hands together. "We want to make sure you're okay." Tasha looked at this man and his daughter, these strangers who had already given her so much. Common sense said she should say no. She didn't know them. They didn't know her. This was already more charity than she was comfortable accepting. But Sophie's eyes were so hopeful. And Nathan's offer seemed genuine, without any hidden motives. And the truth was, Tasha didn't want this moment to end. Didn't want to go back to her empty apartment alone, to eat birthday cake in silence while watching television shows about other people's happy lives. "Okay," she said. "That would be nice. Thank you." Nathan's smile grew wider. "Great. Let me help you with the cake." He took the box carefully and opened Tasha's car door. She transferred from her wheelchair to the driver's seat, a process she'd done 1,000 times but one that always made her feel vulnerable when others watched. Nathan didn't stare. He folded her wheelchair and placed it in the back seat like it was the most natural thing in the world. He put the cake in the passenger seat and made sure it was secure. "We'll be right behind you," he said. Silver SUV. Tasha started her car, the engine coughing once before catching. In her rearview mirror, she could see Nathan and Sophie walking to their vehicle. It was a nice SUV, clean and new, the kind that spoke of stability and security. As she pulled out of the parking lot, the silver SUV followed at a respectful distance. Tasha's hands were steady on the wheel now. The shaking had stopped. In the passenger seat, the pink and white box held her birthday cake, bought by strangers who had somehow become the best part of her day. She didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. This moment, this simple act of kindness in a bakery parking lot, was the first domino falling in a chain of events that would reshape her entire world. But for now, she just drove home, watching the silver SUV in her mirror, and felt something she hadn't felt in 3 long years. She felt hope. Have you ever felt invisible on your birthday, like the world forgot you existed? Imagine being in Tasha's position, counting your last few dollars, trying to celebrate alone. Could you accept help from a stranger? If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need them most. Tasha's apartment building was on the east side of town, in a neighborhood that had seen better days. The brick exterior was faded, the parking lot cracked with weeds growing through the asphalt. She pulled into her assigned spot, number 214, and watched in the mirror as Nathan parked in a visitor space. The afternoon sun was warm as she transferred back into her wheelchair. Nathan appeared at her side, Sophie holding his hand, both of them looking around with neutral expressions. Not judgment. Not discomfort. Just observation. "Second floor," Tasha said, pointing to the external staircase that led to the upper apartments. "There's an elevator around the side. It's slow but it works." "We're in no hurry," Nathan said. He retrieved the cake from the passenger seat. "Lead the way." They walked together to the elevator, Sophie chattering about her school and her favorite teacher, Mrs. Robinson, who let them have extra recess on Fridays. The elevator groaned and creaked as it carried them up, metal cables visible through the grating. Tasha's apartment was at the end of the hallway. 214B. She unlocked the door and pushed it open, suddenly very aware of how small and shabby her home must look to these strangers. One room served as living room, dining room, and kitchen. A tiny bathroom was attached, modified with grab bars she'd installed herself. Her bed was a pull-out couch against one wall. Everything was clean but worn. The furniture came from thrift stores. The dishes were mismatched. The single window looked out at the parking lot. But there were touches of personality. Books stacked on every available surface. A bright blue blanket draped over the couch. Photographs in cheap frames showing Tasha and Jerome at various ages, their parents smiling in the older pictures. A small plant on the windowsill that somehow kept surviving despite her irregular care. "This is nice," Sophie said immediately, running to look at the photographs. "Is this your family?" "Yes," Tasha said. "That's my brother Jerome. He's away at college." Nathan set the cake carefully on the small kitchen counter. "Where would you like us to put things?" "The counter is fine," Tasha said. She wheeled into the kitchen area, reaching up to open a cabinet. "Let me get some plates." "I'll get them," Nathan said gently. "Just tell me where." "Second cabinet from the left," Tasha said. "Glasses are next to them." She watched as Nathan moved around her kitchen with easy efficiency, finding plates, forks, and glasses. He filled the glasses with water from the tap without asking. Sophie explored the small apartment, looking at everything with innocent curiosity. "Can we eat cake now?" Sophie asked. "Is it time for cake?" Nathan looked at Tasha. "It's your birthday. You decide." "I think cake is always the right choice," Tasha said, smiling at Sophie's enthusiasm. "But maybe we should have some real food first?" "I have." She opened her small refrigerator, surveying the sparse contents. A carton of eggs. Some wilted lettuce. Half a container of yogurt. "Actually, I don't have much." "Then let's order something," Nathan said immediately. "What do you like? Pizza? Chinese? There must be places that deliver around here." Tasha started to protest. This was already too much. They'd bought her a cake. They'd followed her home. She couldn't let them buy her dinner too. But before she could speak, Sophie piped up. "Daddy makes the best spaghetti in the whole world. Can we make spaghetti, Daddy? Please?" Nathan looked uncertain. "Sophie, I don't know if Tasha has." "I have pasta," Tasha said quickly. "And some tomato sauce. It's not much, but—" "Perfect," Nathan said. "If you're comfortable with it, I'd be happy to cook. I promise Sophie's not exaggerating. My spaghetti really is pretty good." Something in his eyes told Tasha this mattered to him. Not the cooking itself, but the giving, the helping, the being useful. She recognized it because she'd felt it too back when she had more to offer people than problems. "I would love that," she said. "Thank you." Nathan smiled and rolled up his sleeves. "Sophie, you're in charge of setting the table. Tasha, you sit and relax. It's your birthday. You don't lift a finger." For the next hour, Tasha's tiny apartment filled with the sounds and smells of cooking. Nathan moved around the kitchen like he'd been there 100 times before. He found the pot, the colander, the wooden spoon. He asked where things were without making her feel helpless. Sophie set the table with great concentration, arranging the mismatched plates and forks just so. She folded napkins into triangles and placed them carefully at each spot. She even found 3 candles in a drawer and asked if she could light them. "For atmosphere," she explained seriously. "That's what Grandma always says. Candles are for atmosphere." Tasha watched them work, feeling something warm and unfamiliar spreading through her chest. When was the last time someone had cooked for her? When was the last time her apartment felt alive like this, full of voices and movement and purpose? Nathan's spaghetti was indeed delicious. The sauce was rich with herbs. The pasta was perfectly cooked. He'd even managed to make garlic bread with the heels of bread she'd been saving and some butter mixed with garlic powder. They ate together at her small table, Sophie telling stories about her school friends, Nathan asking Tasha questions about her life. Safe questions. Where did she grow up? What did she like to read? Had she always lived in this city? Tasha found herself talking more than she had in months. About her parents, who had died in a house fire when she was 16. About raising Jerome, who was 5 years younger while finishing high school. About her scholarship to study dance at the state university. About her dreams of becoming a choreographer. "You were a dancer?" Sophie's eyes went wide. "Like a ballerina?" "All kinds of dance," Tasha said. "Ballet, modern, jazz. I loved it more than anything." "What happened?" Nathan asked quietly. His eyes were gentle, not pushing but offering space for her to share if she wanted to. Car accident, Tasha said simply. 3 years ago. Drunk driver ran a red light. I was in the passenger seat. My friend was driving. She walked away with bruises. I didn't walk at all anymore. Sophie's face crumpled with sadness. That's so sad. It is sad, Tasha agreed. But I'm still here. I still have Jerome. I still have lots of things to be grateful for. That's a very healthy way to look at it, Nathan said. There was something in his voice, a depth of understanding that suggested he knew about loss too. After dinner, Nathan washed the dishes despite Tasha's protests. Sophie helped dry. Then finally it was time for cake. Nathan carefully removed it from the box. Mrs. Patterson had written "Happy Birthday, Tasha" in elegant purple script. The strawberries gleamed like jewels against the white frosting. They sang again. Sophie danced as she sang, twirling in her red dress. Nathan's voice was warm and full. Tasha closed her eyes and made another wish. This one was simpler than the first. She wished for friendship. She cut the cake into thick slices. It was sweet and perfect, the strawberries fresh and the cream light as air. They ate slowly, savoring every bite. Sophie got frosting on her nose and giggled when Nathan wiped it off with a napkin. This is the best birthday party ever, Sophie announced. Don't you think so, Tasha? Yes, Tasha said, and she meant it. The very best. As the evening wore on, Sophie began to yawn. Nathan checked his watch and stood reluctantly. We should head home. It's past someone's bedtime. No, Sophie whined, but her eyes were drooping. I don't want to leave. We'll visit again, Nathan said. He looked at Tasha. If that's okay with you. Sophie's developed quite an attachment. I would like that, Tasha said. I would like that very much. Nathan helped clean up the remaining dishes. He packaged the leftover cake carefully and put it in Tasha's refrigerator. He made sure she had everything she needed before they left. At the door, Sophie hugged Tasha tightly around the neck. Happy birthday, she whispered. I'm glad we found you. Me too, Tasha whispered back. Nathan shook her hand, his grip warm and firm. Thank you for letting us be part of your day. It meant a lot. To both of us. You're the ones who made it special, Tasha said. Thank you. For everything. After they left, Tasha sat in her quiet apartment and looked around. The dishes were washed. The table was cleared. The candles had burned down to small stubs. The apartment smelled like tomato sauce and birthday cake. She wheeled to the window and watched as Nathan and Sophie walked to their SUV. She saw Nathan lift Sophie into her car seat and buckle her in. She saw him glance back up at the building as if he could feel her watching, and lift one hand in a small wave. Tasha waved back, even though he probably couldn't see her from this distance. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jerome, "Happy birthday, sis. Sorry I can't be there. Love you." She typed back, "Love you too. Had a good day actually. I'll tell you about it later." Another text came through from an unknown number. "This is Nathan. Sophie insisted I get your number so we can plan another visit. Hope that's okay. Get some rest. You deserve it." Tasha saved the number and typed a reply. "Very okay. Thank you again. Tonight was special." His response came quickly, "For us too. Sleep well, Tasha." She set her phone down and looked at the photograph on her shelf, the one of her in her dance costume from her last recital before the accident. Young Tasha looked so confident, so sure of her place in the world. Present Tasha didn't feel confident. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, she felt something almost as good. She felt seen. She felt valued. She felt like maybe, just maybe, her story wasn't over yet. Outside, stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere in the city, Nathan was putting Sophie to bed. Somewhere in the city, Jerome was studying for his exams. Somewhere in the city, life was moving forward. And in apartment 214B, Tasha Brooks went to sleep with the taste of birthday cake on her lips and hope in her heart. The next morning would bring new surprises. New kindnesses. New reasons to believe that sometimes, when you're down to your last $4 and your last bit of faith, the universe sends you exactly what you need. Sometimes it sends you a single father and his daughter. Sometimes it sends you spaghetti and strawberry cake. Sometimes it sends you proof that you're not alone. Sometimes it sends you a chance to begin again. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains of Tasha's apartment, waking her gently. For a moment she lay still, remembering the previous night. Had it really happened? Had strangers really bought her a cake, followed her home, made her dinner, and made her feel like she mattered? Her phone confirmed it. 3 text messages waited on her screen. Nathan, good morning. Hope you slept well. Nathan, Sophie wants to know if you like chocolate chip pancakes. Nathan, no pressure. Just let us know. Tasha stared at the messages, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. This was too much, wasn't it? They'd already done so much. She couldn't let them keep giving. But another part of her, the part that had felt so alive last night, wanted desperately to say yes. Wanted to see Sophie's bright smile again. Wanted to hear Nathan's warm laugh filling her lonely apartment. She typed, I love chocolate chip pancakes. The response came within seconds. Perfect. We'll be there in an hour. Is that too early? Not at all, she wrote back. Tasha rushed through her morning routine as fast as her body would allow. She transferred into the shower, the process slow and awkward as always. She dressed in clean jeans and a bright maroon sweater. She brushed her hair until it shone and even put on a little makeup, something she hadn't bothered with in weeks. Exactly 1 hour later, a knock sounded at her door. Sophie burst in first, carrying a tote bag decorated with cartoon flowers. We brought everything, she announced. Daddy says we're making breakfast and you just have to sit and enjoy. Nathan followed, carrying 2 grocery bags. He wore jeans and a blue t-shirt, looking more casual than yesterday. Good morning, he said, his smile warm and genuine. Hope we're not imposing. Not at all, Tasha said, moving her wheelchair back to give them room. But you really didn't have to do this. We wanted to, Nathan said simply. He carried the bags to the kitchen and began unpacking. Pancake mix, chocolate chips, butter, syrup, fresh fruit, orange juice, and a container of coffee from the nice cafe downtown. Sophie pulled items from her bag. Crayons, coloring books, and a stack of children's books. I brought things to do while Daddy cooks, she explained. Do you like to color? I do, Tasha said, charmed by the little girl's thoughtfulness. Nathan moved around the kitchen with the same easy confidence as the night before. He mixed batter, heated the griddle, and soon the apartment filled with the sweet smell of pancakes cooking. Sophie and Tasha colored together at the table, Sophie chattering about her teacher, her friends, and her pet fish named Bubbles. Daddy gave me Bubbles after Mommy went to heaven, Sophie said matter-of-factly, not looking up from her coloring page. He said even though we're sad sometimes, we can still love new things. Tasha's heart clenched. She glanced at Nathan, who had gone very still at the stove. That's very wise, she said gently to Sophie. Do you get sad sometimes? Sophie asked. About not dancing? Sophie, Nathan said, his voice holding a gentle warning. It's okay, Tasha said. Yes, I get sad sometimes. But I also remember all the beautiful dances I did before. Those memories don't go away just because I can't dance now. Sophie nodded seriously. That's like Daddy and the pictures of Mommy. We look at them when we miss her and then we feel better. Exactly like that, Tasha agreed. Nathan brought plates stacked with golden pancakes to the table, chocolate chips melted into perfect little pockets of sweetness. He'd cut up strawberries and arranged them in a smiley face on Tasha's plate. The gesture was so unexpectedly thoughtful that Tasha felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you, she said quietly. This is beautiful. They ate together and Tasha marveled at how natural it felt. All right. Like they'd been sharing breakfast for years instead of hours. Nathan asked about her job at the library, and she told him about the children's reading hour she coordinated every Saturday, how she loved seeing kids discover new stories. That's perfect for you, Nathan said. You have such a gentle way with Sophie. I can imagine kids love you. They're very sweet, Tasha said. More accepting than adults sometimes. They don't see the wheelchair. They just see someone who'll read them stories. After breakfast, Nathan insisted on cleaning up while Sophie showed Tasha her favorite book, a story about a brave princess who saved her kingdom. As Nathan washed dishes, he asked casual questions. How long had Tasha lived in this apartment? Did she have everything she needed? Was the building management responsive? It's okay, Tasha said. Not fancy, but it's mine. The rent is manageable with my library salary and disability payments. Nathan dried his hands and came to sit at the table. His expression was thoughtful, careful. Tasha, I hope this doesn't sound presumptuous, but I noticed yesterday that your car is having some issues. The engine, the taillight. Has anyone looked at it recently? Tasha felt her defenses rise. It runs fine. I manage. I'm sure you do, Nathan said quickly. You clearly manage a lot. But I have a friend who owns a repair shop. He owes me a favor. Would you let me have him take a look? No charge. Just a safety inspection. I couldn't. Please, Nathan said. His eyes were earnest. It would give me peace of mind. Sophie too. We care about you getting around safely. Sophie nodded vigorously. We worry about you, Tasha. There was again that choice. Pride or acceptance. Isolation or connection. Tasha looked at these two people who had appeared in her life less than 24 hours ago and somehow already cared about her well-being. Okay, she said. Thank you. That's very kind. Nathan's face lit up. Great. I'll text him today. He can probably come here to look at it so you don't have to go anywhere. They spent the rest of the morning together. Sophie drew pictures, narrating elaborate stories about each one. Nathan sat and talked with Tasha about everything and nothing. Books they'd read. Places they'd traveled. Dreams they'd had as children. I wanted to be an astronaut, Nathan admitted. Until I realized I get motion sick on elevators. Tasha laughed, the sound surprising even herself. When was the last time she'd laughed like that? Around lunchtime, Nathan reluctantly said they needed to go. He had work to prepare for the coming week, and Sophie had a playdate that afternoon. What do you do for work? Tasha asked as they gathered their things. Consulting, Nathan said vaguely. Technology stuff. Pretty boring, honestly. At the door, Sophie hugged Tasha again. Can we come back tomorrow? Please? Sophie, we can't monopolize all of Tasha's time, Nathan said gently. It's okay, Tasha heard herself say. I'd like that. If you're free. Nathan smiled. We're free. How about dinner? I'll bring ingredients and cook again. Only if you let me help this time, Tasha said. I'm not completely useless in the kitchen. I never thought you were, Nathan said seriously. Not for a second. After they left, Tasha wheeled to the window and watched them load into the SUV. This time, Sophie waved up at her, jumping and waving with both hands. Tasha waved back, smiling. Her phone rang. Jerome. Hey sis, her brother's voice filled her ear. How was your birthday really? Your text was pretty short. It was good, Tasha said. Actually, it was really good. Yeah. What happened? Tasha told him everything. The bakery. Nathan and Sophie. The cake, the spaghetti, the pancakes this morning. As she talked, she could hear the surprise in Jerome's silence. Tasha, he said carefully. This guy. You barely know him. I know. And he's already been to your apartment twice. Buying you food. Offering to fix your car. I know it sounds strange. It sounds too good to be true, Jerome said. I just worry about you. What does he want? I don't think he wants anything, Tasha said. I think he's just kind. Some people are just kind, Jerome. Some people are, Jerome agreed slowly. But some people aren't. Just be careful, okay? Promise me. I promise, Tasha said. But Jerome, I really think this is okay. He has a daughter. He's respectful. He just seems like a good person who noticed someone having a hard time and wanted to help. Okay, Jerome said. But I'm coming home next weekend to meet this guy. Fair? Fair, Tasha agreed. After they hung up, Tasha sat in the afternoon quiet and thought about Jerome's concerns. He was right to worry. She barely knew Nathan. But somehow in her gut she felt safe with him. Felt seen by him. Felt like he understood something about loss and loneliness that most people didn't. Her phone buzzed. Nathan again. My friend Carlos can look at your car tomorrow morning around 10. Does that work? Perfect. Thank you. Sophie wanted me to send you this. An image loaded. A crayon drawing of 3 stick figures. One in a wheelchair labeled Tasha. One tall figure labeled Daddy. One small figure labeled me. They were all holding hands under a bright yellow sun. At the top, in Sophie's careful 7-year-old handwriting, my new friend. Tasha saved the image and stared at it for a long time. 3 people. A makeshift family of sorts. It was just a child's drawing, but it represented something Tasha had thought she'd lost forever. Connection. Belonging. Matching to someone. That night, as she ate leftover birthday cake for dinner, Tasha felt something shifting inside her. The walls she'd built around herself over the past 3 years, the ones that said don't expect anything, don't hope for anything, don't let anyone in, were beginning to crack. It was terrifying. But it was also exhilarating. She didn't know where this was going. Didn't know what Nathan and Sophie would come to mean in her life, or she in theirs. But she knew one thing for certain. She was going to find out. For the first time in 3 years, Tasha Brooks was going to let people help her. Let people care about her. Let people see her as more than the girl in the wheelchair with nothing to offer. She was going to accept the kindness that had walked into her life in the form of a man in a green jacket and his daughter in a red dress. She was going to say yes to whatever came next. The therapist's office smelled like lavender and old magazines. Tasha sat in the waiting room, her wheelchair positioned near the window, watching rain streak down the glass. This was her fourth session with Dr. Morrison, a physical therapist who specialized in spinal cord injuries. Nathan had arranged it all. Called the best center in the city, set up the appointments, handled the payment. When Tasha tried to protest, he'd simply said, "Let me help. Please." So here she was, 3 weeks after meeting Nathan and Sophie, taking steps toward healing she'd thought were impossible. Tasha Brooks. A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Dr. Morrison is ready for you." The therapy room was bright and spacious, filled with equipment Tasha had only seen in medical brochures. Parallel bars, weight machines, mats, resistance bands. Dr. Morrison, a black woman in her 50s with kind eyes and strong hands, greeted her warmly. "How are you feeling today?" Dr. Morrison asked, reviewing notes on her tablet. "Good," Tasha said. "Nervous but good. That's normal. Let's start with your history. I've read the medical reports from your accident, but I want to hear it from you. Tell me what happened." Tasha took a breath. She didn't talk about that night often. It hurt too much to remember. "It was 3 years ago," she began. "October 15th. I was 21 in my junior year at State University on a full dance scholarship." She could see it all so clearly. The studio where she'd spent hours perfecting her senior showcase routine. The dream of dancing professionally, maybe even on Broadway someday. The feeling of her body moving exactly how she told it to, strong and graceful and completely hers. "My friend Rachel and I went out to celebrate," Tasha continued. She'd just gotten accepted to grad school. "We had dinner, nothing fancy, just the diner near campus. Around 10 we headed home." Dr. Morrison listened quietly, her expression neutral but attentive. "Rachel was driving. It was raining like today. We were at a red light on Maple Street. The light turned green. Rachel checked both ways and started through the intersection." Tasha's hands clenched in her lap. "He came out of nowhere. A pickup truck, running the red light at 60 miles an hour. He hit the passenger side. My side. The impact had sounded like the world ending. Metal screaming. Glass shattering. Tasha's body thrown like a rag doll against the door, then jerking back against the seatbelt. Rachel was fine. Bruises and a sprained wrist. But Tasha touched her lower back, the place where everything had changed. T12 complete. That's the medical term. My spinal cord was severed at the 12th thoracic vertebra. No sensation or movement below my waist." "And the driver?" Dr. Morrison asked. "Drunk. 3rd DUI. He served 18 months in prison." Tasha's voice was flat. "Got out last year on good behavior." Dr. Morrison nodded slowly. "And your recovery?" "What happened after the hospital?" 6 weeks inpatient. Learning how to transfer, how to use a wheelchair, how to exist in this new body. Then outpatient therapy for 3 months until my insurance ran out." Tasha looked down at her hands. "I couldn't afford to continue. I lost my scholarship. Had to leave school. Used what little money I had saved for an accessible apartment and a modified car. No family support? My parents died when I was 16. House fire. I raised my younger brother after that, but he's in college now. I wouldn't ask him for money even if he had it." Tasha's voice was firm. "He deserves to focus on his education." "And you've had no therapy for almost 3 years?" "Correct. I do exercises at home, the ones they taught me. Try to stay as strong as I can. But it's not the same as having professional guidance." Dr. Morrison set down her tablet. "Tasha, I want to be honest with you. 3 years is a long time without proper therapy. We can definitely improve your strength, your flexibility, your overall function. But I need to know what your goals are. What do you hope to achieve?" Tasha had thought about this question for weeks, ever since Nathan first suggested therapy. What did she hope for? Walking again? That seemed impossible, a fantasy from another life. "I want to hurt less," she said finally. "I want to be stronger so daily tasks are easier. I want to feel like I have some control over my body again." "Those are excellent, realistic goals," Dr. Morrison said. "Now, has anyone discussed experimental treatments with you? Newer therapies that weren't available 3 years ago?" "No," Tasha said, surprised. "Like what?" "There are clinical trials happening across the country. Nerve stimulation techniques. New approaches to spinal regeneration. Nothing is guaranteed, but some patients have regained sensation, even some motor function." Dr. Morrison's eyes were bright. "I have a colleague at Cooper Memorial Research Center who runs one such program. Would you be interested in learning more?" "I couldn't afford." "The trials are funded by grants and donations. Participants pay nothing. In fact, they're compensated for their time. Dr. Morrison leaned forward. I can make an introduction if you're interested. Tasha felt dizzy. Hope was a dangerous thing. It could lift you up just to drop you harder when it failed. But what if it didn't fail? What if there was a chance, even a small one? Yes, she said. I'd be very interested. Dr. Morrison smiled. Good. Now let's get to work. The session was intense. Dr. Morrison evaluated Tasha's current strength, flexibility, and range of motion. She developed a therapy plan that would start slow and build gradually. By the end of the hour, Tasha was exhausted but energized. 3 times a week, Dr. Morrison said as Tasha prepared to leave. And I'll set up that introduction to Cooper Memorial. Give me a week. In the waiting room, Nathan sat with his laptop, working while Sophie colored in a nearby chair. They both looked up when Tasha emerged. How did it go? Nathan asked, closing his computer. Really good, Tasha said. She couldn't stop smiling. Dr. Morrison is amazing. And she mentioned these clinical trials that might. She stopped, afraid to say it out loud. Afraid to give voice to the hope blooming in her chest. That might what? Sophie asked, climbing down from her chair. That might help me get stronger, Tasha finished. Maybe even help me feel my legs again someday. Nathan's face lit up. Tasha, that's incredible. It's not a guarantee, Tasha said quickly. It might not work. But the possibility? The possibility is everything, Nathan said. He looked at her with such genuine happiness that Tasha felt her eyes sting with tears. They went to lunch at a small cafe near the therapy center. Nathan insisted on treating, and Tasha let him without argument. She was learning that accepting his help didn't make her weak. It made her human. Over sandwiches, Tasha found herself telling them more about her life before the accident. Her love of dance, the feeling of choreographing a piece and seeing it come to life on stage. Her dreams of opening her own dance studio someday, teaching kids from low-income families. You could still do that, Nathan said quietly. Teaching, I mean. You don't have to dance to teach dance. I've thought about it, Tasha admitted. But who would take dance lessons from someone in a wheelchair? Someone who wants to learn from someone with real understanding of movement, of body mechanics, of overcoming challenges. Nathan's voice was firm. Your perspective is valuable, Tasha. Your experience matters. Sophie nodded enthusiastically. I would take dance from you. I think you'd be the best teacher ever. You are very sweet, Tasha said, ruffling Sophie's hair. That evening, back at her apartment, Tasha sat at her laptop and did something she hadn't done in 3 years. She researched adaptive dance programs. Wheelchair dance. Inclusive choreography. There was a whole world she didn't know existed, of dancers and teachers who refused to let disability stop their art. She found videos of competitions, professional companies, teaching studios. People in wheelchairs performing breathtaking routines. People teaching from wheelchairs, their students learning from their unique perspective. Maybe Nathan was right. Maybe her story wasn't over. Maybe it had just changed genres. Her phone rang. Nathan. Hey, his voice was warm. Just calling to check in. Sophie wanted to make sure you got home okay. I did. Thanks for driving me today. Anytime. Listen, I have a question. Sophie's school is having a talent show next month. She wants to do a dance routine, and she asked if you might be willing to help her choreograph something. No pressure at all if... Yes, Tasha interrupted. I would love that. She could hear Nathan's smile through the phone. She's going to be so excited. Can we come over this weekend to start planning? Absolutely. After they hung up, Tasha sat in the growing darkness and thought about the strange, beautiful path her life was taking. 3 weeks ago, she'd been utterly alone, down to her last few dollars, celebrating her birthday in the saddest way possible. Now she had friends who cared about her. Therapy that might actually help. A little girl who wanted her expertise. A spark of hope she'd thought was extinguished forever. The past 3 years had been about surviving. About getting through each day. About managing loss and pain and disappointment. But maybe, just maybe, the next 3 years could be about something else. About healing. About connection. About rediscovering purpose. About learning that sometimes life breaks you just so you can learn how strong you really are. And sometimes, when you're at your absolute lowest, the universe sends you exactly what you need. A kind man and his daughter. A therapist who believes in you. A reason to hope. Tasha pulled out a notebook and began sketching ideas for Sophie's dance routine. For the first time in 3 years she was choreographing again. And it felt like coming home. The following weeks fell into a rhythm that felt as natural as breathing. Nathan and Sophie became constants in Tasha's life, showing up with groceries, home-cooked meals, and endless enthusiasm. Monday mornings meant therapy with Dr. Morrison. Nathan always drove Tasha, refusing to let her struggle with the bus system. Sophie came along, doing homework in the waiting room, cheering when Tasha emerged from each session. Tuesday evenings were for dance practice. In Tasha's small apartment, Sophie twirled and leaped while Tasha coached her through the routine they were building for the talent show. Nathan watched from the couch, his eyes soft as he observed his daughter's joy. Wednesday afternoons, Nathan worked from his laptop at Tasha's kitchen table while she organized books for her Saturday reading hour at the library. They worked in comfortable silence, occasionally commenting on something funny or interesting. Sophie colored or read picture books, content in their quiet companionship. Thursday nights were movie nights. They discovered a shared love of old musicals. Sophie had never seen The Sound of Music or Singin' in the Rain, and Tasha delighted in introducing her to these classics. They made popcorn and sang along badly, laughing until their sides hurt. Fridays were for cooking experiments. Nathan taught Tasha his favorite recipes, working side by side in her tiny kitchen. She learned to make his famous chicken parmesan, his secret recipe chili, his surprisingly good homemade pizza. Sophie was their official taste tester, offering serious critiques with all the gravity of a 7-year-old food critic. Weekends varied. Sometimes they went to the park, Nathan pushing Tasha's wheelchair along the paved paths while Sophie ran ahead, collecting leaves and interesting rocks. Sometimes they visited the library together, Sophie checking out stacks of books that Nathan would read to her at bedtime. Carlos had fixed Tasha's car, refusing payment even when Tasha insisted. Any friend of Nathan's, he'd said with a wink. The car now ran smoothly, the taillight replaced, several other small issues addressed. At therapy, Tasha's progress was remarkable. Dr. Morrison said it was the combination of professional guidance, regular attendance, and Tasha's own determination. Her upper body grew noticeably stronger. Her transfers became smoother. The chronic pain that had plagued her for 3 years began to ease. Your body was compensating for lack of proper strength training, Dr. Morrison explained during week 4. Now that we're building the right muscles, everything works better. Even more exciting, Dr. Morrison had arranged a consultation at Cooper Memorial Research Center. The appointment was set for 2 weeks away, and Tasha tried not to think about it too much. Tried not to let hope overwhelm her common sense. But it was hard not to hope when everything else in her life was improving so dramatically. One Thursday evening, after Sophie had fallen asleep on Tasha's couch during the second act of The King and I, Nathan carefully carried his daughter to the car. When he returned to say goodnight, he lingered in the doorway. "Can I talk to you about something?" he asked. "Of course," Tasha said, wheeling closer. Nathan sat on the couch, his expression thoughtful. "These past few weeks have been really good for Sophie. For both of us, actually. She's happier than she's been in a long time." "I'm happy too," Tasha said honestly. "You two have changed my life." "That's what I wanted to talk about." Nathan ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Tasha had learned meant he was nervous. "I know we haven't known each other long, but you've become important to us. To me. And I want to be upfront about something." Tasha's heart began to beat faster. "I care about you," Nathan said simply. "Not just as Sophie's friend or someone I'm helping. I care about you as a person. As someone I want in my life long term." He held up a hand. "I'm not asking for anything to change. I just wanted to be honest about where I'm at emotionally." Tasha sat very still, processing his words. She'd felt it too, this growing connection that went beyond friendship. The way her heart lifted when she heard his knock at the door. The way she found herself thinking about him during the quiet moments. The way his smile made her feel beautiful, seen, valued. "I care about you too," she said quietly. I wasn't sure if I should say anything. If it was appropriate or if I was reading things wrong. Nathan's face broke into a relieved smile. "You weren't reading things wrong." They sat in the comfortable silence that had become their trademark. The television played the credits of the musical. Outside, the city hummed with evening traffic. "So what do we do with this?" Tasha finally asked. "This caring about each other?" "We take it slow," Nathan said. "We keep being honest. We see where it goes." He reached over and took her hand, his fingers warm around hers. "I lost my wife 2 years ago. Sophie lost her mother. We're still healing from that. But being with you, it doesn't feel like betraying her memory. Feels like honoring it. Like choosing to keep living and loving even after loss." "I understand," Tasha said. "I lost who I was 3 years ago. I've been so focused on what I can't do anymore that I forgot about what I still can do. But you've helped me remember. You did that yourself, Nathan said. I just showed up. You're the one doing the hard work. Their hands stayed linked as they talked late into the night. About Nathan's wife, Emily, who had died suddenly from an aneurysm. About the grief and fear that followed. About learning to be a single father while mourning his partner. About the loneliness that came with loss. About Tasha's accident and her parents' death. About raising Jerome while grieving. About the isolation of disability in a world not built for wheelchairs. About the loss of identity when your body betrays you. They were two people who understood that healing wasn't linear. That moving forward didn't mean forgetting the past. That it was possible to carry sadness while still making space for joy. When Nathan finally left, well past midnight, he kissed Tasha's cheek gently. Sleep well, he whispered. I'll see you tomorrow. Tasha touched her cheek where his lips had been, feeling the warmth of it. She wheeled to the window and watched him drive away, his taillights disappearing into the night. Her phone buzzed. Jerome. You up? Yeah. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just had a feeling I should check in. How are things? Tasha smiled at her brother's intuition. Things are really good, Jerome. Really, really good. The Nathan guy? He's still around? Every day. And it's okay? You're okay? Better than okay. I think I'm falling for him. Silence on the other end. Then Jerome's careful voice. That's good, sis. You deserve to be happy. Just promise me you're being careful with your heart. I promise. But Jerome, he's good to me. He sees me. The real me, not just the girl in the wheelchair. And his daughter is the sweetest kid I've ever met. Okay. I trust your judgment. I'll be home this weekend to meet them. Saturday work? Perfect. They'll love you. After they hung up, Tasha prepared for bed with a lightness in her movements. She transferred into her bed and lay in the darkness, thinking about the strange journey her life had taken. For weeks ago, she'd been at her lowest point. Alone. Struggling. Down to her last few dollars on her birthday, unable even to buy herself a cake. Now she had people who cared. Therapy that was working. A little girl who looked up to her. A man who saw past her wheelchair to the person inside. She thought about Nathan's words. I care about you as a person. As someone I want in my life long term. Long term. The phrase echoed in her mind like a promise. Like hope taking solid shape. Tasha closed her eyes and let herself imagine a future. Not the future she'd lost when that truck ran the red light. A different future. One with Nathan and Sophie in it. One where she taught dance again, maybe opened that studio she dreamed of. One where her wheelchair wasn't the defining feature of her life but just one part of a much bigger, richer story. She imagined holidays together. Sophie growing up with Tasha as a constant presence. Maybe even more sessions at Cooper Memorial that could lead to regaining some sensation. Maybe even small movements. But even if none of that happened. Even if she never felt her legs again, never took another step, she had this. She had connection. She had purpose. She had love growing in the spaces of her heart she'd thought were closed forever. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance. Somewhere, life was happening. Emergencies and celebrations. Beginnings and endings. The city breathed and moved and lived. And in apartment 214B, Tasha Brooks fell asleep with a smile on her face and hope in her heart. The next morning began with a text from Nathan. Good morning, beautiful. Tasha stared at the word. Beautiful. When was the last time someone had called her that? When was the last time she'd felt it? She typed back, good morning yourself. His response, Sophie wants to practice her routine extra this week. Talent show is in 10 days. Are you free tonight? Always free for you too. Perfect. I'll bring dinner. Chinese food okay? Sounds perfect. The day passed in a pleasant blur. At the library, during her Saturday reading hour, Tasha noticed herself smiling more with the children. Engaging more. Feeling more present. The kids sensed it too, clustering closer, asking more questions, reluctant to leave when their parents came to collect them. You seem different lately, her supervisor, Mrs. Chen, commented. Happier. I am, Tasha said. Life's been good recently. That's wonderful to hear. You know, I've been thinking. We're expanding the children's program next quarter. We need someone to coordinate after-school activities. Are you interested in taking on more hours? More hours meant more money. More stability. More opportunities. Yes, Tasha said without hesitation. Absolutely yes. That evening, Nathan and Sophie arrived with bags of Chinese takeout. They spread the feast across Tasha's small table. fried rice, lo mein, orange chicken, beef and broccoli, spring rolls, fortune cookies. We ordered too much, Nathan admitted. But I couldn't decide what you'd like, so I got everything. They ate until they were stuffed, then pushed the furniture aside to practice Sophie's routine. The talent show was next Friday, and Sophie was getting nervous. What if I forget the steps? She worried. You won't, Tasha assured her. We've practiced 100 times. Your body knows what to do. But what if I fall? Then you get up and keep going. That's what dancers do. They ran through the routine 3 times. Sophie had chosen a song from The Greatest Showman, and Tasha had choreographed simple but effective movements that showcased the girl's natural grace and enthusiasm. On the 3rd run-through, Sophie nailed every step. When the music ended, she stood in the center of the room, breathing hard, her face flushed with exertion and triumph. That was perfect, Tasha said. Sophie, you're going to be amazing. Nathan clapped enthusiastically. She's right. You're incredible, sweetheart. Sophie threw her arms around Tasha's neck. I couldn't have done it without you. You're the best teacher ever. Later, after Sophie had fallen asleep on the couch again, Nathan helped Tasha clean up the dinner dishes. They worked side by side, the domestic routine feeling comfortable and right. My brother is coming home next weekend, Tasha said, drying a plate. He wants to meet you. Nathan paused, his hands in the soapy water. The big brother inspection? Something like that. He's protective. I don't blame him. You're worth protecting. Nathan rinsed the last dish and turned to face her. I'd like to meet him too. Properly. As someone who cares about his sister. He'll like you, Tasha said. How could he not? Nathan dried his hands and crouched down to be at Tasha's eye level. His face was serious, his eyes searching hers. Tasha, I need you to know something. I'm not doing any of this because I feel sorry for you. I'm not here out of pity or obligation. I know, Tasha started, but Nathan continued. I'm here because you're funny and smart and kind. Because Sophie lights up when she talks about you. Because I haven't felt this comfortable with someone since Emily died. He took her hands in his. I'm here because I'm falling for you. For all of you. The strength and the vulnerability. The past and the present. Everything. Tasha felt tears well up. I'm falling for you too. Both of you. And it scares me because everything good in my life has been taken away. I'm afraid to believe this is real. It's real, Nathan said firmly. We're real. And I'm not going anywhere. He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. It was Tasha's first kiss since the accident, and she'd worried it would feel strange, that she'd be too aware of the wheelchair, of her body's limitations. But with Nathan it just felt right. Like coming home. Like finding something she didn't know she'd been searching for. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. I should probably go, Nathan said reluctantly. Before Sophie wakes up and asks why Daddy is kissing Tasha. Though that would be a pretty good conversation, Tasha teased. Nathan laughed and carefully lifted his sleeping daughter. At the door he turned back. Tomorrow? He asked. Tomorrow, Tasha confirmed. After they left, Tasha sat in her quiet apartment and touched her lips, still feeling the warmth of that kiss. Outside, the night was clear, stars visible beyond the city lights. She'd stopped making wishes on stars 3 years ago. Stopped believing in magic or fate or divine intervention. The world had seemed random and cruel, taking what it wanted with no regard for fairness or justice. But maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe there was still magic. Maybe kindness was its own kind of fate. Maybe the universe had brought Nathan and Sophie to that bakery on her birthday for a reason. Or maybe there was no grand plan. Maybe it was just 2 broken people finding each other and choosing to heal together. Maybe that was enough. Actually, it was more than enough. It was everything. The day of the Cooper Memorial consultation arrived with bright morning sunshine. Tasha woke to texts from Nathan wishing her luck and from Jerome checking that she was ready for this. She was ready. More than ready. Dr. Morrison had prepared her with information about the experimental program, explaining that the trial focused on electrical stimulation combined with intensive physical therapy. Some participants had regained sensation. A few had regained limited motor function. Manage your expectations, Dr. Morrison had warned. But stay hopeful. Science is advancing every day. Nathan picked Tasha up at 9. Sophie had school, so it was just the 2 of them. As they drove across the city, Nathan reached over and took Tasha's hand. Whatever happens today, you're amazing, he said. With or without this treatment, you're the strongest person I know. Cooper Memorial was a modern building on the north side of the city, all glass and steel and hope. Nathan parked in the accessible spot closest to the entrance and helped Tasha with her wheelchair. Inside, the lobby was spacious and bright. A receptionist directed them to the third floor, where Dr. Patricia Walsh headed the spinal cord injury research program. Dr. Walsh was a woman in her early 60s with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She greeted Tasha warmly and spent 2 hours going over Tasha's medical history, asking detailed questions about her injury, her current function, and her goals. "You're an excellent candidate," Dr. Walsh finally said. "Your injury is complete, but you're young, healthy, and motivated. Those factors matter tremendously. What would the treatment involve?" Tasha asked. "The trial runs for 6 months. You'd come here 5 days a week for intensive therapy sessions. We'd implant a small electrical stimulation device that sends targeted pulses to your spinal cord. Combined with aggressive physical therapy, this has helped some patients regain sensation and, in a few cases, voluntary movement." Tasha felt lightheaded. "I'd need to come 5 days a week?" "Yes. Each session is 2 hours. It's a significant commitment." Dr. Walsh pulled up charts on her computer. "We compensate participants for their time. $500 per week to cover transportation and any lost work hours. At the end of the 6 months, if the device shows benefit, you keep it at no cost. $500 a week. That would cover Tasha's rent and then some." "What are the risks?" Nathan asked, speaking for the first time. "The surgical implantation carries standard risks: infection, bleeding, reaction to anesthesia. The device itself has been thoroughly tested and is considered safe. The bigger risk is psychological. If the treatment doesn't work, it can be emotionally difficult." "And if it does work?" Tasha asked. Dr. Walsh smiled. "Then we document everything, publish the results, and hopefully help the next generation of patients. You'd be contributing to crucial research." Tasha looked at Nathan. He squeezed her hand but didn't speak. This was her decision. "When would I start?" Tasha asked. "We have an opening in 2 weeks. The surgery would be scheduled first, a relatively minor outpatient procedure. After a week of recovery, you'd begin the treatment protocol." 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, Tasha could start down a path that might change everything. Or might change nothing. But not trying meant definitely changing nothing. "I want to do it," Tasha said. "I'm in." Dr. Walsh's smile widened. "Excellent. I'll have my coordinator draw up the paperwork. Welcome to the program, Tasha." The next hour was a blur of forms, consent documents, and scheduling. A nurse took Tasha's vitals and drew blood for pre-surgical testing. Another staff member explained the daily routine she'd follow during the trial. When they finally left, Tasha felt dazed. In the car, Nathan didn't start the engine immediately. He turned to face her, his expression serious. "This is huge," he said. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified," Tasha admitted. "Excited. Overwhelmed. All of it at once." "I'll drive you to every session," Nathan offered immediately. 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. I'll rearrange my work schedule." "It's not a problem." "Nathan, you can't." "Yes, I can. And I will." His tone left no room for argument. "You're not doing this alone." Tasha felt tears threaten. "What did I do to deserve you?" "You existed," Nathan said simply. "You were brave enough to accept help. You let me and Sophie into your life. That's all you needed to do." They stopped for lunch at a small diner, celebrating with milkshakes and burgers. Tasha called Jerome to tell him the news. "That's incredible, sis," Jerome said, his voice tight with emotion. "I'm so proud of you." "It might not work," Tasha cautioned. "But it might. And trying is what matters." That evening, Nathan brought Sophie over for an impromptu celebration. They ordered pizza and Tasha told Sophie about the trial, explaining it in terms the 7-year-old could understand. "So the doctors are going to help your legs wake up?" Sophie asked. "They're going to try," Tasha said. "It might not work, but we're going to try." "It will work," Sophie said with absolute certainty. "I know it will. I'm going to pray every night for your legs to work again." The simple faith in Sophie's voice made Tasha's heart ache. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means the world to me." Later, after Sophie was asleep on the couch and Nathan was cleaning up the pizza boxes, there was a knock at the door. Tasha wheeled over to find Jerome standing there, his duffel bag over his shoulder. "Surprise," he said. "Caught an earlier bus. Couldn't wait until tomorrow to see you." Tasha threw her arms around her brother, and he hugged her tightly. When they pulled apart, Nathan was standing in the kitchen doorway watching. "You must be Nathan," Jerome said, his tone carefully neutral. "I am." Nathan stepped forward, extending his hand. It's good to finally meet you. Tasha talks about you constantly. Jerome shook his hand, his eyes assessing. I've heard a lot about you too. The two men stood there, sizing each other up. Tasha held her breath. This mattered. Jerome's opinion mattered. Finally, Jerome smiled. Thanks for taking care of my sister. It's my privilege, Nathan said, and Tasha could hear the sincerity in his voice. The tension broke. Jerome came in and met Sophie, who woke up long enough to give him a sleepy hello before Nathan decided they really needed to get her home to bed. At the door, Nathan kissed Tasha's cheek. I'll call you tomorrow. Jerome, good to meet you. You too, Jerome said. After they left, Jerome turned to Tasha with raised eyebrows. Okay, I get it now. Get what? Why you're so into this guy? He's genuine. He really cares about you. He does, Tasha agreed. They both do. Jerome sat on the couch and patted the space next to him. Tasha wheeled over and they sat in comfortable silence for a moment. I was so worried, Jerome admitted. After everything you've been through, I thought someone was taking advantage of you. But that guy, he looks at you like you hung the moon. It's still new, Tasha said. We're taking things slow. Good. But sis, don't be afraid to let yourself be happy. You deserve this. You deserve everything good that comes your way. They stayed up late talking, catching up on Jerome's classes, his girlfriend, his plans for the future. He was doing well, thriving at school, and Tasha felt a surge of pride in how far he'd come. Mom and Dad would be proud of you, she said. They'd be proud of both of us, Jerome replied. You raised me right, Tasha. Now it's time for you to focus on yourself. Let Nathan help. Let the doctors help. Accept all the good stuff that's coming. The next 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind. Sophie's talent show was a triumph. She performed her routine flawlessly, and parents asked afterward if Tasha taught dance lessons. She gave them her number, planting a seed for the future. At the library, Tasha began her expanded role, coordinating after-school programs. The extra income made her feel more secure than she had in years. Nathan continued his daily visits, but now there was a new dimension to their relationship. More touches. More kisses. More moments of quiet intimacy that spoke to deepening feelings. The night before her surgery, Nathan came over after putting Sophie to bed. He brought flowers, bright yellow sunflowers that lit up Tasha's small apartment. For courage, he said, arranging them in a water glass since Tasha didn't own a vase. They sat together on the couch, Tasha leaning against Nathan's side, his arm around her shoulders. The television played something neither of them watched. I'm scared, Tasha admitted. I know. That's normal. What if it doesn't work? What if I let myself hope and then? Then you hope anyway, Nathan said gently. Because hope itself is valuable regardless of outcome. Hope means you're still fighting. Still believing you deserve good things. When did you get so wise? When I met you. He kissed the top of her head. You've taught me a lot about courage, Tasha. About facing hard things with grace. About accepting help without losing your strength. I learned that from you, Tasha said. You taught me it's okay to need people. They sat in comfortable silence as the evening deepened into night. Eventually, Nathan reluctantly said he needed to go. Tomorrow would be a long day for both of them. At the door, he cupped Tasha's face in his hands and kissed her softly. I'll be there when you wake up from surgery. Me and Sophie both. You won't be alone. Thank you, Tasha whispered. For everything. For seeing me. For caring. For being exactly what I needed when I needed it most. Right back at you, Nathan said. After he left, Tasha prepared for bed with shaking hands. Tomorrow everything might change. Or nothing might change. But she was trying. She was hoping. She was moving forward instead of staying stuck in the past. She thought about that day in the bakery 7 weeks ago, when she'd had $4 and a desperate wish for someone to remember her birthday. She'd been at rock bottom, unable to see a way forward. Now look at her. Surgery tomorrow that might restore sensation to her legs. A man who loved her. His daughter who adored her. A brother who was proud of her. A job she enjoyed. A purpose beyond just surviving. All because she'd said yes. Yes to help. Yes to kindness. Yes to connection. Tasha fell asleep thinking about all the yes that had led her here. And all the yes still to come. Tomorrow was just the beginning. Tasha woke up from surgery to find Nathan's face hovering over her, his eyes filled with concern and relief. Sophie stood next to him, holding a drawing she'd made of Tasha with the words, "Get well soon," in careful crayon letters. Hey, Nathan said softly. How do you feel? Groggy, Tasha mumbled. Her lower back ached where they'd implanted the device, but it wasn't unbearable. Is it done? All done. Dr. Walsh said everything went perfectly. The device is in place. Sophie climbed carefully onto the hospital bed, mindful of the wires and tubes. I made you a picture. See? It's you and me and Daddy having a picnic when your legs work again. Tasha felt tears well up. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Thank you. The nurse came in to check vitals and explain the recovery process. 1 week of rest, then the real work would begin. They sent Tasha home that evening with pain medication and strict instructions. Nathan had already prepared her apartment. He'd rearranged furniture to make maneuvering easier, stocked her refrigerator with easy-to-prepare meals, and set up a schedule where he or Jerome would check on her every day. You didn't have to do all this, Tasha said as Nathan helped her transfer from wheelchair to couch. I wanted to, Nathan said. He tucked a pillow behind her back and draped a soft blanket over her legs. Now orders from your doctor. Rest, stay hydrated, and don't push yourself. I'm enforcing those orders. The recovery week was harder than expected. The surgical site was sore, and Tasha felt frustrated by her body's need for rest when she wanted to jump straight into treatment. Nathan came by every morning before work, bringing fresh coffee and breakfast. Jerome visited after his classes, helping with anything Tasha needed. Sophie video called every evening to tell Tasha about her day and show off her homework. On the 7th day, Dr. Walsh gave Tasha clearance to begin the treatment protocol. The first session was intense. Therapists positioned Tasha on a specialized table and activated the electrical stimulation device. Tiny pulses traveled through her spinal cord while therapists moved her legs through range of motion exercises. Tell me if you feel anything, Dr. Morrison said, watching Tasha's face closely. Tingling, pressure, warmth. Anything at all. Tasha concentrated, desperate for sensation. But there was nothing. Just the familiar absence below her waist. Don't be discouraged, Dr. Morrison said. It takes time. Your nervous system needs to relearn how to communicate. Be patient with yourself. Nathan picked Tasha up after the session. She was quiet in the car, disappointment heavy in her chest. No feeling yet? Nathan asked gently. Nothing. It's only day 1. Give it time. Over the next weeks, the routine became familiar. Morning sessions at Cooper Memorial, afternoon recovery at home, evening visits from Nathan and Sophie. The therapy was grueling. 2 hours of intensive work on the table, electrical pulses firing constantly, therapists pushing Tasha's body through movements it couldn't do on its own. On day 14, Tasha felt something. A tiny sensation in her left foot, like pins and needles waking up after sitting too long. There, she gasped. I felt something. Dr. Morrison's eyes lit up. Describe it. Tingling. In my left foot. It's faint, but it's there. They documented everything. The exact location, the intensity, how long it lasted. That evening, Tasha burst into tears when telling Nathan, overwhelmed by hope and fear and possibility. It's working, she sobbed. It's actually working. Nathan held her while she cried, his own eyes wet. I knew it would. I knew you could do this. The progress came slowly but steadily. By week 4, Tasha could feel pressure when someone touched her left leg. By week 6, she had sensation in both feet. By week 8, the tingling had spread up to her knees. But sensation wasn't movement. Her legs still didn't respond to commands from her brain. She could feel them, but she couldn't control them. This is still incredible progress, Dr. Walsh assured her. Sensation often returns before motor function. Keep working. Keep hoping. As Tasha's body slowly awakened, so did other parts of her life. The parents from Sophie's talent show started calling, asking about dance lessons. Tasha began teaching 2 afternoons a week from her apartment, working with small groups of children on basic movement and rhythm. The kids didn't care that their teacher used a wheelchair. They cared that she was patient, encouraging, and made dance fun. Nathan's feelings grew deeper with each passing day. He told Tasha he loved her on a quiet Thursday evening, while they washed dishes together after dinner. The words came out simple and true. I love you, he said, drying a plate. I've loved you for weeks now, but I wanted to wait for the right moment. Though I'm starting to think every moment with you is right. Tasha turned to look at him, soap bubbles dripping from her hands. I love you too. I've been too scared to say it. Scared of losing something this good. You're not going to lose me, Nathan said firmly. He set down the plate and took her soapy hands in his. I'm here. For as long as you'll have me. They kissed and it felt like sealing a promise. A commitment to see where this journey led them, together. Sophie, with the emotional intelligence of someone far older than 7, picked up on the change immediately. "Are you and Tasha boyfriend and girlfriend now?" she asked Nathan one morning. "Something like that," Nathan admitted. "How do you feel about that?" Sophie considered the question seriously. "I think it's good. Tasha makes you happy. And she's nice to me. And she's teaching me to dance. So yeah, I like it." "That's all that matters then," Nathan said, relief evident in his voice. One Saturday afternoon, 3 months into the trial, something miraculous happened. Tasha was on the treatment table, electrical stimulation device humming, when Dr. Morrison asked her to try moving her left toes. "Don't force it," Dr. Morrison said. "Just think about moving them. Imagine the sensation." Tasha closed her eyes and concentrated. "Move," she thought. "Please move." And they did. Just a tiny twitch, barely visible. But movement. Voluntary movement for the first time in 3 years. The entire therapy room erupted in cheers. Dr. Morrison documented everything, her hands shaking with excitement. Dr. Walsh rushed in after someone called her, witnessing Tasha repeat the movement 3 more times. "This is extraordinary," Dr. Walsh said. "Absolutely extraordinary." Nathan was in the waiting room when Tasha emerged from the session. One look at her face and he was on his feet. "What happened?" "I moved my toes," Tasha said, laughing and crying simultaneously. "Nathan, I moved my toes." He whooped loudly, not caring that they were in a medical facility. He picked Tasha up right out of her wheelchair and spun her around, both of them laughing. That evening, they celebrated with dinner at Tasha's favorite restaurant, the one she'd stopped going to after the accident because it wasn't easily accessible. Nathan had called ahead, making sure they had a good table with plenty of space for her wheelchair. Jerome drove in from school to join them. Sophie wore her fanciest dress, declaring this the most important celebration ever. They toasted with sparkling cider, and Tasha felt surrounded by love. "Speech," Jerome demanded. "You have to make a speech." Tasha looked around the table at the 3 most important people in her life. 4 months ago, I had $4 to my name and no hope for the future. I thought my life was over. That I'd never be more than the girl in the wheelchair, struggling just to survive each day. She paused, emotion thick in her throat. Then this man and his daughter walked into a bakery and bought me a birthday cake. They saw me when I felt invisible. They cared when I felt forgotten. They gave me hope when I had none left. Nathan reached for her hand under the table. "I don't know what's going to happen next," Tasha continued. "Maybe I'll walk again. Maybe I won't. But it doesn't matter as much as it used to. Because I've learned that life isn't about what you've lost. It's about what you still have and what you're willing to fight for." "And what are you fighting for?" Sophie asked. "This," Tasha said simply. "All of you. This family we've built. This love we share. That's worth more than walking. That's worth everything." There wasn't a dry eye at the table. Even the waiter, who'd been hovering nearby, discreetly wiped his face as he refilled their water glasses. As they ate and talked and laughed, Tasha felt a sense of completeness she'd never experienced before. Not even before the accident, when her life had seemed perfect. That perfection had been shallow, based on physical ability and external achievement. This happiness ran deeper. It was built on authenticity, vulnerability, and real connection. It was choosing to love and be loved despite fear, despite risk, despite all the ways life could hurt you. Later that night, after Jerome had driven back to school and Sophie had fallen asleep on Tasha's couch yet again, Nathan and Tasha sat together in the quiet darkness. "Thank you," Tasha said softly. "For everything. For seeing me. For loving me. For never making me feel like I'm broken." "You're not broken," Nathan said. "You never were. You're just you. And you're perfect exactly as you are." He kissed her, deep and slow and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Nathan's expression turned serious. "I have something I need to tell you," he said. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." Tasha felt her heart rate increase. "What is it?" "It's about who I really am. About my work and my life before we met." Nathan took a deep breath. "I haven't been completely honest with you, and I need to fix that." "Okay," Tasha said slowly. "I'm listening." But before Nathan could continue, Sophie stirred on the couch, mumbling about bad dreams. Nathan went to comfort her, and the moment passed. "Tomorrow," he promised. "I'll tell you everything tomorrow." Tasha nodded, but unease settled in her stomach. What secret was Nathan keeping? And why had he hidden it until now? As she prepared for bed that night, she tried to push away the worry. Whatever Nathan needed to tell her, they'd face it together. They'd come too far to let secrets destroy what they'd built. But still, as she fell asleep, she wondered, what truth was Nathan holding back? And how would it change everything they had? The next morning came too soon. Tasha woke to bright sunlight streaming through her window and a text from Nathan. "Can we talk today? Important. I'll come by around 10. She stared at the message, anxiety twisting in her gut. What could be so important? What truth had he been keeping from her all these months? At 10 sharp, Nathan knocked. He was alone, having dropped Sophie at a friend's house for a playdate. His face was serious as he came in, and he held a folder full of papers. "Thank you for seeing me," he said formally, as if they hadn't spent nearly every day together for months. "You're scaring me," Tasha said honestly. "Just tell me whatever it is." Nathan sat on the couch and ran his hands through his hair, that nervous gesture she'd come to recognize. "When we met, I told you I did consulting. Technology stuff. That was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. Okay. My full name is Nathan William Cooper. My late wife was Emily Cooper. She died 2 years ago from a brain aneurysm, and I created a medical research foundation in her name." He opened the folder and pulled out documents. "Cooper Memorial Research Center, where you're receiving treatment, is named after her." Tasha stared at him, processing. "You own the research center?" "I founded it. I don't run it day to day, but I fund it. Heavily. It's my way of making sure other families don't lose someone the way we lost Emily." Nathan's voice was thick with emotion. "I should have told you from the beginning, but I was afraid you'd refuse treatment if you knew I was behind it." "Are you paying for my treatment?" Tasha asked, her voice small. "The trial itself is legitimately funded by research grants. You're a genuine participant, selected on your own merits. But," he paused, "I did ask Dr. Walsh to expedite your application. And I've been covering some adjacent costs. Transportation, the extra therapy sessions with Dr. Morrison, the specialized equipment." Tasha felt her world tilt. All this time, Nathan hadn't just been helping her as a friend or boyfriend. He'd been funding her recovery without her knowledge. "Why?" she asked. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you're proud. Because you would have said no. Because I knew you needed help, and I had the resources to provide it, and I couldn't stand by and watch you struggle when I could change things." Nathan moved to kneel in front of her wheelchair, his eyes pleading. "I'm not saying that makes it right. I should have been honest. But I don't regret helping you, Tasha. I'll never regret that." "How rich are you?" Tasha asked. Nathan hesitated. "I founded a tech company in my 20s. Sold it for a substantial sum. Then invested well. I'm comfortable." "Comfortable?" Tasha repeated. "Nathan, you own a medical research center. You're not comfortable. You're wealthy." "Yes," he admitted. "Very wealthy." Tasha wheeled back from him, needing space. "So this whole time, while I've been worried about bills and counting pennies, you've been what? Playing at being normal? Living in your nice house with your nice car, pretending to understand what it's like to struggle? That's not fair," Nathan said quietly. "I never pretended to understand your financial situation. I just didn't broadcast my own. Money doesn't solve all problems, Tasha. It didn't save Emily. It doesn't bring her back. It doesn't make Sophie miss her mother any less. But it does solve some problems," Tasha said. "Like not being able to afford therapy. Like needing a car repair. Like having only $4 for a birthday cake." Silence fell heavy between them. Nathan stayed on his knees, looking up at her with such sadness that Tasha's anger wavered. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "I'm so sorry I wasn't honest from the beginning. But please understand, I never saw you as a charity case. I saw you as a remarkable person who deserved help. Who deserved a chance." "Did you plan this?" Tasha asked. "Did you see me in that bakery and decide I'd be your next project?" "No," Nathan said firmly. "Meeting you was pure chance. Sophie noticed you first, remember? She's the one who said you needed a birthday cake. And yes, I paid for it. But after that, after we got to know you, it stopped being about helping someone in need and started being about spending time with someone I was falling for." "When?" Tasha demanded. "When did it change?" "Probably that first night when you let us follow you home and we made spaghetti together. When I saw how you lived and how much you'd overcome and how gracefully you handled all of it." Nathan's eyes were wet. "I fell in love with your strength, Tasha. Your resilience. Your kindness despite everything life has thrown at you. The money was just a tool to help you access what you already deserved." Tasha felt tears streaming down her face. She was angry and hurt and confused. But underneath all that, she understood. She remembered her own internal struggle every time Nathan offered help. The pride that wanted to refuse. The need that required acceptance. If he'd told her from the beginning that he was wealthy, that he owned the very research center treating her, would she have accepted anything? No. She would have run the other way, too proud to take help from someone with that much power and resources. I need to think, she said. I need some time alone. Nathan stood slowly. I understand. Take all the time you need. But Tasha, please know that my feelings for you are real. The money doesn't change that. You're not a project or a charity case. You're the woman I love. He left the folder on the table and walked to the door. Before he opened it, he turned back. One more thing. There's information in that folder about a position at Cooper Memorial. We need a patient coordinator for the outreach program. Someone who understands what patients go through. Someone compassionate and organized. The salary is $60,000 a year with full benefits. I want you to apply, but the decision will be made by the hiring committee, not me. Your qualifications speak for themselves. Then he was gone, and Tasha was alone with her thoughts and a folder full of revelations. She wheeled to the table and opened the folder. Job descriptions. Information about Cooper Memorial's mission and programs. Financial statements showing the foundation's legitimate research funding. A personal letter from Nathan explaining his wife's death and his commitment to medical research in her name. At the bottom was a separate envelope. Tasha opened it to find a check for $10,000 and a note. For all the times I insisted on paying and you had to accept graciously. This makes us even. Or it's a gift. Or it's whatever you need it to be. I just want you to have security. You deserve that much. Love, Nathan. Tasha put her head in her hands and cried. She cried for the confusion and the hurt. She cried for the love and the fear. She cried because life was so complicated and hearts were so fragile and trust was so hard. Her phone rang. Jerome. Hey sis, just checking in. How's the moving toes miracle coming along? Jerome, Tasha said, her voice breaking. I need you. What's wrong? What happened? She told him everything. About Nathan's revelation, the money, Cooper Memorial, all of it. Jerome listened without interrupting, his breathing the only sound through the phone. That's heavy, he finally said. But sis, here's what I think. Did he help you because he felt sorry for you? I don't know. Did he treat you like you were less than him? Like you needed rescuing? No, Tasha admitted. Never. Did he make you feel bad about accepting help? No. Then what's the real problem? That he has money? Or that he used it to make your life better? Tasha was quiet, thinking. What was the real problem? Was it the money itself? Or was it the fear that without the money, Nathan wouldn't have stayed? That his feelings were somehow tied to his ability to help her? I'm scared, she whispered. What if he only loves me because I'm someone he can save? Tasha, that man loves you because you're you. I saw it when I met him. The way he looks at you has nothing to do with your wheelchair or your struggles. He sees the person I've always seen. My incredible, strong, beautiful sister who raised me and kept our family together when we had nothing. I don't know what to do. Talk to him. Really talk. Tell him your fears. If he's the man I think he is, he'll understand. After they hung up, Tasha sat with her confusion for a long time. She looked at the check on the table. $10,000. More money than she'd seen in 3 years. Money that could change everything. Or money that could change nothing if she couldn't get past her pride. Around noon there was another knock. This time it was Sophie holding Nathan's hand. The little girl ran to Tasha immediately. Daddy said you're sad. Did we make you sad? Oh sweetheart, no. Tasha pulled Sophie into a hug. I'm just figuring some things out. Nathan stayed by the door, his expression uncertain. She insisted on coming. Said you needed to see her picture. Sophie showed Tasha a new drawing. This one showed Tasha and Sophie holding hands, with a sun overhead that had a smiling face. This is us being best friends forever. Because that's what we are, right? Even if you're sad. Absolutely, Tasha said, emotion clogging her throat. We'll always be best friends. Okay, good. Sophie patted Tasha's hand. Daddy says sometimes grown-ups need to have boring talks. So I'll color over here while you do that. Sophie settled at the table with her crayons, humming to herself. Nathan approached slowly, sitting on the couch across from Tasha. I'm sorry, he said again. For not being fully honest. For making decisions about your care without your knowledge. That wasn't fair. No, it wasn't, Tasha agreed. But I also understand why you did it. And Jerome helped me see something. You never made me feel less than. You never treated me like a project. You just happened to have resources you could use to help, and you did. That's exactly it, Nathan said. If I'd been a carpenter, I would have fixed your apartment. If I'd been a mechanic, I would have fixed your car. I happened to have money, so I used that. But the motivation was the same as the man who bought you a birthday cake because his daughter asked him to. Basic human decency. Tasha smiled despite herself. When you put it that way? I love you, Nathan said. Not because I can help you. Not because you need me. But because you're funny and smart and strong and kind. Because Sophie adores you. Because my world is brighter with you in it. I love you too, Tasha said. I'm just scared. Scared that I'll never be able to give you as much as you give me. Scared that I'm just taking and taking. You give me everything that matters, Nathan said firmly. You give me love. You give Sophie a mother figure who teaches her strength and resilience. You give me hope that life can be good again after loss. Those things are priceless, Tasha. They can't be bought. Sophie looked up from her coloring. Are you guys done fighting? Because I'm hungry and we should have lunch. Both adults laughed, the tension breaking. We're done, Nathan said. What do you want for lunch? Grilled cheese, Sophie said immediately. And Tasha makes the best grilled cheese in the world, so she should make it. I do make pretty good grilled cheese, Tasha admitted. They moved to the kitchen together, falling back into their comfortable rhythm. As they cooked and talked and laughed, Tasha felt the last of her anger dissolving. Nathan's honesty had hurt, but his explanation made sense. And more importantly, his actions over the past months spoke louder than any words. He'd never made her feel inferior. He'd never thrown his wealth in her face. He'd simply helped quietly the way someone who truly cares does. After lunch, after Sophie had fallen asleep on the couch yet again, Nathan brought up the job offer. I meant what I said. The position is real. The hiring committee makes the decision. But I think you'd be perfect for it. Tasha looked at the job description again. Patient coordinator. Helping people navigate the medical system, providing support and resources, connecting patients with services. Was perfect. Using her own experience to help others facing similar challenges. I'll apply, she said. But only if you promise that you'll stay out of the hiring process. I need to know I got it on my own merits. Deal? Nathan said. Though for the record, your merits are more than enough. As evening approached, as Nathan prepared to take Sophie home, he pulled Tasha close for a long hug. We're okay? He asked. You forgive me? We're okay, Tasha confirmed. And I'm going to try to be better at accepting help. Not just from you but in general. Jerome reminded me that it's not weakness to need people. It's not, Nathan agreed. It's human. After they left, Tasha looked at the check still sitting on her table. $10,000. Enough to build a real safety net. Enough to stop living on the edge of financial disaster. Enough to breathe. She picked it up and looked at it for a long time. Then she went to her laptop and opened her banking app. She took a photo of the check and deposited it. The money hit her account within minutes, and for the first time in 3 years, Tasha had a 4-digit balance that didn't immediately get drained by bills. She called Jerome. I deposited the check. Good, her brother said. You deserve security. And Tasha? I'm proud of you for accepting it. Thanks for talking me through this. I almost pushed him away. But you didn't. That's what matters. You're learning to let people love you. That takes courage too. That night, Tasha slept peacefully for the first time since Nathan's revelation. When she woke the next morning, she felt lighter. Ready to move forward. Ready to keep building this life she was creating. She opened her laptop and started working on her application for the patient coordinator position at Cooper Memorial. She detailed her own experience as a patient, her work coordinating children's programs at the library, her growing dance teaching practice. She wrote honestly about what she could bring to the role. When she finished, she read it over 3 times. Was good. Really good. She submitted it through the official portal, the same way any other applicant would. Then she texted Nathan, application submitted. Now we wait. His response came quickly, proud of you. Want to celebrate tonight? My place? I'll cook. Tasha paused. She'd never been to Nathan's home. He'd always come to her apartment, meeting her in her space. Seeing where he lived felt like another step forward. I'd love that. What's your address? The house was in the nicest neighborhood Tasha had ever seen. Not mansion level, but definitely upper class. A 2-story colonial with a perfectly manicured lawn and a basketball hoop in the driveway. Nathan's silver SUV sat in the garage next to a sedan Tasha hadn't seen before. Nathan met her at the door, having installed a temporary ramp for her wheelchair that afternoon. Welcome, he said, stepping aside so she could wheel in. The interior was beautiful but lived in. Family photos everywhere. Sophie's artwork covering the refrigerator. Comfortable furniture that invited sitting. It felt like a home, not a showplace. Sophie gave Tasha the grand tour, showing her the playroom, the kitchen, and proudly displaying her bedroom with its princess theme and overflowing bookshelf. "And this is Daddy's office," Sophie said, pushing open a door to reveal a room with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a large desk with multiple monitors and photographs of a beautiful blonde woman. Emily, Nathan's late wife. "She was very pretty," Tasha said softly. "She was the best mommy ever," Sophie said matter-of-factly. "But she's in heaven now. Daddy says it's okay to love people who are in heaven and also love people who are here. Like you. Your daddy is very smart," Tasha said, her heart full. Dinner was lasagna, garlic bread, and salad. They ate at Nathan's dining room table, which was big enough for 8 people but felt cozy with just the 3 of them. After dinner, Sophie asked if Tasha could help with her bedtime routine. "Please? You can read me a story. Daddy's stories are good, but yours are the best." Tasha looked at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly. She followed Sophie upstairs, the stair lift Nathan had installed years ago for Emily's mother, making the journey possible. Sophie's room was warm and inviting, stuffed animals lined up on shelves, a night light casting a soft glow. Sophie changed into pajamas and climbed into bed. Tasha wheeled close and picked up the book on the nightstand. They read together, Sophie occasionally interrupting to comment on the pictures or predict what would happen next. When the story ended, Sophie yawned widely. "Tasha? Are you going to marry my daddy?" Tasha's breath caught. "That's a very big question, sweetheart." "I think you should. Then you could live here with us. And we could be a real family." "We're already a real family," Tasha said gently. "Family isn't just about living in the same house or having a wedding. It's about loving each other and being there for each other. And we already do that." "But it would be nice if you lived here," Sophie said sleepily. "Then I could see you every day." "We'll see what happens," Tasha said. She kissed Sophie's forehead. "Sweet dreams, little one." "Sweet dreams, Tasha. I love you." "I love you too." Downstairs, Nathan was cleaning up the kitchen. Tasha joined him and they worked side by side in comfortable silence. When the last dish was put away, Nathan led her to the living room. They sat together on the couch, Tasha transferring from her wheelchair to sit beside him. He put his arm around her shoulders and she leaned into his warmth. "Sophie asked me if I was going to marry you," Tasha said. Nathan went very still. "What did you say?" "I said we're already a family. That we love each other. That's what matters." "All true," Nathan said. "But for the record, marriage isn't off the table. Eventually. When we're both ready. If you want that." "I might want that," Tasha admitted. "Someday. When I'm sure I'm not just another person you're trying to save." "You're not," Nathan said firmly. "You never were. You're the person who saved me. Who reminded me that life goes on after loss. That it's okay to love again. That letting someone in doesn't mean betraying the person you lost." They kissed, slow and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Tasha knew with certainty that this was real. That Nathan's feelings weren't about her wheelchair or her struggles or his need to help. They were about her. The person she was. The person she was becoming. "I should probably go," Tasha said reluctantly. "It's getting late." "Or you could stay," Nathan said carefully. "Guest room is on the first floor. Fully accessible bathroom right next to it. No pressure. Just an offer." Tasha thought about it. About trust and vulnerability and taking another step forward. "Okay," she said. "I'll stay." Nathan's face lit up. He showed her to the guest room, which was spacious and comfortable with everything she might need. He kissed her goodnight at the door and went upstairs to his own room. Tasha prepared for bed in this strange but familiar space. Nathan's house. A place she might belong someday. She thought about Sophie's question. About marriage and family and forever. 3 months ago, forever had seemed impossible. Now it seemed inevitable. Like this path she was on had always been leading here, to this man and his daughter and this life they were building together. She fell asleep in the comfortable bed, surrounded by the sounds of a house that was learning to be her home. 3 months later, life had settled into a beautiful new normal. Tasha had been offered the patient coordinator position at Cooper Memorial and accepted with joy. The work was fulfilling, helping other patients navigate the same challenges she'd faced. Her dance teaching had expanded to 3 afternoons a week, with a waiting list of eager students. The trial was nearing completion, and Tasha could now move all her toes and flex her feet slightly. The doctors were optimistic about continued improvement. She and Nathan had grown even closer. She spent most weekends at his house. Sophie called her almost mom, and seemed to have forgotten there was ever a time when Tasha wasn't part of their family. Jerome had graduated and gotten a job in the city, living in his own apartment but joining them for family dinners twice a week. Everything was perfect, almost too perfect, which is why Tasha should have known something was about to change. It started with a phone call. Nathan was at work when his cell rang, and Tasha happened to be nearby, organizing files in his home office where she'd been working remotely. She saw his face change as he answered. The color drained from his cheeks. His jaw tightened. "I understand," he said into the phone. "Yes, tomorrow. I'll be there." He hung up and stood very still, staring at nothing. "Nathan? What's wrong?" He seemed to remember she was there. "Nothing. Just a work thing. I have to travel tomorrow. Just for a few days." "Where?" "Chicago. Some meetings I can't get out of." He forced a smile. "Don't worry. I'll be back before you know it." But Tasha did worry. Nathan was acting strange for the rest of the evening. Distracted. Tense. He kept checking his phone with a frown. When Sophie asked him to play a game, he agreed but seemed miles away. The next morning, Nathan left before Tasha woke up. He'd texted her, "Early flight. Didn't want to wake you. I'll call tonight. Love you." That night he didn't call. He sent a brief text, "Meetings running late. Miss you. Talk tomorrow." The pattern continued for 3 days. Brief texts but no calls. Vague explanations. Tasha tried not to read into it but doubt crept in. Was Nathan pulling away? Had he realized that life with someone in a wheelchair was too complicated? Was he having second thoughts about their relationship? On the 4th day Sophie mentioned something odd. Mrs. Wilson next door said she saw Daddy's car in the driveway last night. But he's in Chicago. Tasha's stomach dropped. She must have been mistaken. "Maybe," Sophie said, but she looked confused. That evening, Tasha was leaving Cooper Memorial after her shift when she saw something that made her blood run cold. A sleek black car sat in the parking lot, and inside she could see Nathan. He was with a woman. A tall, elegant woman in a business suit. They were talking intently, and the woman's hand was on Nathan's arm. Tasha wheeled quickly to her car, her heart pounding. She didn't confront him. Couldn't. She needed to think. At home she called Jerome. "Something's wrong with Nathan. He lied about being in Chicago. I saw him with another woman." "Whoa, slow down. Tell me everything." Tasha explained the strange phone call, the trip to Chicago that might not have been real, the sighting in the parking lot. Jerome was quiet for a long moment. "Tasha, there could be a lot of explanations. Don't jump to conclusions. Talk to him. What if he's leaving me? What if this whole thing was just temporary? What if—" "Stop. You're spiraling. Nathan loves you. I've seen it. There has to be a reasonable explanation." But when Nathan came to her apartment that evening, acting like nothing was wrong, Tasha couldn't stay quiet. "Who was that woman?" she asked. Nathan's face went carefully blank. "What woman?" "The one I saw you with in the parking lot at Cooper Memorial. The one you were having an intense conversation with while you were supposed to be in Chicago." Nathan closed his eyes. "Tasha, I can explain." "Then explain. Because right now it looks like you lied to me. Like you're hiding something. Like everything we've built is based on lies." "It's not like that," Nathan said. He ran his hand through his hair, that nervous gesture. "I wasn't in Chicago. You're right. I was here but I couldn't tell you why." "Why not?" "We're supposed to trust each other. Because it involves you. And I didn't want to say anything until everything was finalized. Until I was sure it would work out." "What are you talking about?" Nathan pulled out his phone and showed her a series of emails. Tasha read through them, her confusion growing. They were from various medical facilities, insurance companies, and what looked like legal documents. "I don't understand," she said. "The woman you saw is Rebecca Turner. She's a medical lawyer who specializes in disability rights and insurance claims. I hired her to help with something." Nathan took a deep breath. "Tasha, the driver who hit you. The one who was drunk. Do you know if you ever received any settlement from him or his insurance company?" "No. I couldn't afford a lawyer, and the public defender said there wasn't much point. He didn't have assets." "That's what they told you. But Rebecca did some digging. He did have insurance. Good insurance. And they should have paid out for your medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. They didn't because you didn't have representation, and they took advantage of that." Tasha felt dizzy. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Rebecca has been building a case for the past 3 months. We're suing the insurance company for the settlement you should have received 3 years ago. It's a strong case. Very strong." Nathan's eyes were bright. "Tasha, we got the offer yesterday. They're willing to settle for $800,000. The room spun. $800,000. Life-changing money. Money that would mean security forever. Money that would mean never worrying about bills or therapy or her future. Why didn't you tell me? Tasha whispered. Because I didn't want to get your hopes up if it didn't work out. Because I wanted to present you with a solution, not just another problem. Nathan moved closer. And because I've been working with Cooper Memorial to create something else. Something bigger. What? A scholarship fund. The Tasha Brooks Adaptive Dance Scholarship. For kids with disabilities who want to study dance but can't afford adaptive programs. We're using part of my donation to the foundation to establish it. But I wanted to get your permission first. To use your name. To let your story inspire others. Tasha couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. This man. This beautiful, generous, frustrating man had been working behind the scenes to change her life. Again. There's more, Nathan said. The trial at Cooper Memorial. It's ending next week. But Dr. Walsh wants to offer you continued treatment. Not as a trial participant. As a staff member. They want you to be the first patient coordinator who's also undergoing treatment. To document your journey. To help develop better support systems for future patients. Nathan. And there's one more thing. Nathan got down on one knee in front of her wheelchair. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I was going to wait. To do this some romantic way. But I can't wait anymore. Tasha Brooks, you've changed my life. You've changed Sophie's life. You've taught us that hope isn't foolish. That love can grow even in the hardest circumstances. That family is what you build, not just what you're born into. He opened the box. Inside was a ring with a deep blue stone surrounded by small diamonds. Will you marry me? Will you be Sophie's mother and my wife and my partner in everything? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making sure you know how extraordinary you are? Tasha stared at the ring. At Nathan's hopeful face. At the future he was offering. A future with security and purpose and love. A future she'd stopped believing in 3 years ago. Yes, she whispered. Then louder, yes. Yes, of course yes. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her. When they pulled apart, both were crying. I'm sorry I lied about Chicago, Nathan said. I was meeting with Rebecca and finalizing all the paperwork. I wanted to have everything ready before I told you. I forgive you, Tasha said. But Nathan, please. No more secrets. Even good ones. I need honesty more than I need surprises. Deal. Complete honesty from now on. They called Sophie immediately, putting her on video chat. When they told her they were getting married, she screamed so loudly that Jerome came running into Tasha's apartment, having been in the kitchen making coffee. What happened? Is everything okay? Jerome demanded. Tasha held up her hand, showing the ring. We're engaged. Jerome broke into a huge grin. Finally. I was starting to wonder if Nathan would ever ask. You knew? Tasha asked. He asked my permission 2 months ago, Jerome admitted. Very old-fashioned of him. But I appreciated it. The next few days were a whirlwind. Rebecca Turner came to meet Tasha officially and walked her through the insurance settlement. The money would be deposited within 2 weeks, pending some final paperwork. Dr. Walsh confirmed the extended treatment plan and the new position parameters. The scholarship fund was announced at a Cooper Memorial Board meeting, with Tasha present via video call. But through all of it, strange things kept happening. Cars Tasha didn't recognize appeared outside her apartment building. Her phone rang from blocked numbers, nobody speaking when she answered. Once, she could have sworn someone was watching her from across the parking lot at the therapy center. She mentioned it to Nathan, who immediately went into protective mode. I'm hiring security. That's excessive, Tasha protested. Maybe. But humor me. You're about to receive a substantial settlement. There are people who target individuals in situations like this. Nathan's face was serious. I'd rather be overcautious than sorry. The security team was discreet but thorough. They did sweeps of Tasha's apartment, installed better locks, and monitored her comings and goings without being intrusive. Still, Tasha felt uneasy. Then, 5 days before the settlement was supposed to be finalized, Rebecca Turner called with disturbing news. Someone's been investigating you, Rebecca said. Digging into your background, your finances, your relationship with Nathan. I don't know who or why, but we need to be careful. This could be the insurance company trying to find reasons to void the settlement. Or it could be something else entirely. What do we do? Tasha asked. Stay alert. Don't sign anything or talk to anyone about the case without me present. And Tasha? Watch your back. That night, Tasha couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering who was investigating her and why. What did they want? What were they looking for? Outside, a car engine started. Tasha wheeled to the window and looked down. A dark sedan was pulling away from the building, no lights on. Her heart hammered in her chest. She called Nathan. Someone was watching my apartment. I'm coming over. Right now. Pack a bag. You're staying at my place until this is resolved. Nathan, I can't run every time something scary happens. You're not running. You're being smart. Please, Tasha. For me. For Sophie. We need you safe. Within an hour, Tasha was at Nathan's house, her overnight bag packed, security system armed at her apartment. Sophie was asleep, unaware of the tension. Nathan made tea and they sat in his kitchen, both too wired to sleep. Who would do this? Tasha asked. Who would care enough about my settlement to stalk me? I don't know, Nathan admitted. But I'm going to find out. The next morning, Rebecca called again. We need to meet. All of us. There's been a development. A big one. They gathered in Nathan's home office. Rebecca, Nathan, Tasha, and the lead security consultant, a former police detective named Mike Henderson. Rebecca spread documents across the desk. The person investigating Tasha is a private investigator hired by someone from your past, Tasha. Someone who thinks they're entitled to part of your settlement. Who? Tasha asked, confused. I don't have any family except Jerome. Rebecca slid a document across the desk. It was a claim form. Filed by Rachel Martinez. Tasha's friend. The one who was driving the night of the accident. No, Tasha breathed. Rachel wouldn't. She is. She filed a claim saying that she suffered emotional trauma from the accident. That she's been living with guilt and mental anguish. She's demanding $200,000 from your settlement as compensation for her suffering. Tasha felt like she'd been punched. Rachel. Her friend. The person who'd visited once in the hospital and then disappeared from her life. Who Tasha had forgiven for the accident because it wasn't Rachel's fault. Who she thought simply couldn't handle the aftermath. Can she do that? Nathan asked, his voice hard. She can try. Whether she'll succeed is another question. Her case is weak. But if she pushes it to court, it could delay your settlement for months. Maybe longer. Rebecca looked at Tasha. I need to know. Is there any merit to her claim? Did she suffer because of the accident? Tasha thought back to that night. Rachel's tears in the hospital. Her apologies. Her promises to be there for Tasha. Then nothing. No calls. No visits. Complete silence for 3 years. She suffered guilt, Tasha said slowly. I saw it. But emotional trauma worth $200,000? No. She moved on with her life. Graduated. Got a job. Got married. I saw her social media before I deleted my accounts. She was fine. Then we fight it, Rebecca said. But you need to be prepared. This could get ugly. She might make claims about your friendship. About the night of the accident. About things that aren't true. Let her try, Tasha said, anger replacing fear. I survived a drunk driver and 3 years of hell. I can survive Rachel's greed. But as the meeting ended and everyone left, Tasha felt shaken. Not by the legal battle ahead. By the betrayal. By the reminder that not everyone who smiled at you had good intentions. That even people you trusted could hurt you when money was involved. Nathan held her as she cried. We'll get through this, he promised. Together. Like we get through everything. I thought my life was finally settled, Tasha said. I thought the hard parts were over. Life is never really settled, Nathan said gently. There are always challenges. Always surprises. But we face them together. You, me, Sophie, Jerome. We're a team. And teams don't give up. Tasha nodded against his chest. He was right. Whatever Rachel tried to do, whatever happened with the settlement, Tasha had something Rachel didn't. She had people who genuinely loved her. Who stood by her. Who cared about her well-being more than money. She had a family. A real one. Built on trust and honesty and shared struggle. And that was worth more than any settlement could ever be. The week before the settlement hearing was the longest of Tasha's life. Rebecca worked tirelessly building their case, gathering evidence that Rachel's claims were baseless. They documented Rachel's social media posts showing her happy life. They found witnesses who could testify that Rachel had shown no signs of trauma. They prepared for every argument Rachel's lawyer might make. Tasha threw herself into work, finding solace in helping other patients at Cooper Memorial. One young man, paralyzed in a diving accident, reminded her of herself 3 years ago. Angry, scared, convinced his life was over. It's not over, Tasha told him gently. I know it feels like it, but you'd be amazed what you can adapt to, what you can accomplish, what life can still hold. Easy for you to say, the young man said bitterly. You have everything figured out. I have $4 and a birthday cake figured out, Tasha said with a smile. When he looked confused, she told him her story. About hitting rock bottom. About strangers who became family. About learning to accept help. About finding purpose again. So you're saying some rich guy will just appear and fix my life? The young man asked sarcastically. No. I'm saying you'll fix your own life. One choice at a time. One yes at a time. One moment of courage at a time. Tasha rolled closer to him. Help will come. Sometimes from unexpected places. But you have to be willing to accept it. That's the hard part. Letting people see you struggle. Letting people help. That takes more courage than anything else. The young man was quiet for a long moment. How do you know when to trust someone? When they really want to help versus when they just feel sorry for you? You feel it, Tasha said. In here. She touched her chest. Trust your instincts, and give people a chance to prove themselves. I almost pushed away the best thing that ever happened to me because of pride. Don't make that mistake. The hearing arrived. Tasha wore a bright red dress that Sophie had helped her pick out. Red is a power color, Sophie had explained seriously. It says you're strong and you're not afraid. The courtroom was smaller than Tasha expected. Rachel sat at the opposite table with her lawyer, a sharp-looking man in an expensive suit. When Rachel's eyes met Tasha's, she quickly looked away. Rebecca presented their case methodically. The facts of the accident. The insurance company's failure to pay. The ongoing impact on Tasha's life. The legitimacy of the settlement amount. Then Rachel's lawyer stood up. My client has suffered tremendous guilt and emotional pain from this accident. She was the driver. She feels responsible even though it wasn't her fault. She's had nightmares. Anxiety. She's been in therapy dealing with the trauma. Objection, Rebecca said calmly. Where are the medical records supporting these claims? The therapy bills? Any documentation whatsoever? Rachel's lawyer shuffled papers. We have my client's testimony. Testimony that contradicts her social media presence, her professional success, and statements from her own family and friends, Rebecca countered. She presented evidence methodically. Photos of Rachel at her wedding 2 years ago. Posts about promotions at work. Comments about how happy and grateful she was. The judge, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked at Rachel. Ms. Martinez, can you explain these inconsistencies? Rachel stood, her voice shaking. I was hiding my pain. Pretending to be okay when I wasn't. For 3 years? The judge asked skeptically. Without ever reaching out to the friend you allegedly feel so guilty about injuring? Silence. Ms. Martinez, this court sympathizes with the difficult situation you were in that night. But your claim appears to be motivated by financial gain rather than legitimate suffering. Unless you have additional evidence to present, I'm inclined to dismiss your claim. Rachel's lawyer whispered urgently to her. She shook her head. I don't have anything else. I thought I deserved something. She's getting so much money and I got nothing even though I was in that car too. You got to walk away, Tasha said quietly, speaking for the first time. The judge looked at her, surprised. You got to finish college. Get married. Build a life. I got a wheelchair and 3 years of poverty and pain. That's the difference, Rachel. And you know what? I forgave you for the accident a long time ago. It wasn't your fault. But this? Coming after me now for money? That's your fault. And I'm not sure I can forgive that. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, but Tasha felt no sympathy. Only sadness. Sadness for the friendship they'd had. Sadness that greed had turned someone she'd cared about into a stranger. The judge ruled swiftly. Ms. Martinez's claim is dismissed with prejudice. She is ordered to pay court costs and attorney fees for the defense. Ms. Brooks, your settlement is approved in full. The insurance company will pay within 5 business days. It was over. Rebecca hugged Tasha tightly. Nathan, who'd been sitting in the gallery with Sophie and Jerome, rushed forward. They all embraced, relief and joy mixing together. Outside the courthouse, Rachel approached them. Her lawyer had already left. She looked smaller somehow. Defeated. Tasha, I'm sorry, she said. I know that doesn't mean much now, but I am. I was jealous. And scared. And I convinced myself I deserved some of that money. But you're right. I got to walk away. That should have been enough. Tasha looked at her former friend. She could hold on to anger. Could let this betrayal poison the joy she felt. Or she could do what she'd always done. Choose kindness. Choose hope. Choose to let go. I hope you figure out what you really want from life, Tasha said. Because it's not money. Money doesn't fix what's broken inside you. Trust me on that. Rachel nodded, tears streaming down her face. You're a better person than I am. No, Tasha said. I'm just someone who's learned that bitterness hurts you more than it hurts anyone else. Good luck, Rachel. They walked away, leaving Rachel standing on the courthouse steps. Sophie held Tasha's hand as they headed to the parking lot. Are you sad? Sophie asked. Because that lady was mean to you? A little, Tasha admitted. But mostly I'm grateful. Grateful for the people who really love me. For family. For all the good things in my life. Like us? Sophie asked hopefully. Especially like you, Tasha confirmed. That evening they celebrated at Nathan's house. Jerome brought champagne. They ordered food from Tasha's favorite restaurant. Dr. Walsh and Dr. Morrison stopped by with a cake, decorated with the words, "Congratulations, Tasha," in blue frosting. I have news, Dr. Walsh announced. The trial results are being published next month. Tasha, you're our star patient. Not only have you regained sensation in both legs, but last week's test showed voluntary muscle activation in your quadriceps and hamstrings. Do you know what that means? That the muscles are responding to my brain's signals, Tasha said, her heart racing. Exactly. With continued therapy, there's a real possibility you could regain the ability to stand. Maybe even take steps with support. Dr. Walsh smiled. I'm not promising a full recovery, but you're proving that the treatment works. That people with complete spinal cord injuries can improve years after the initial trauma. The room erupted in cheers. Nathan lifted Tasha right out of her wheelchair and spun her around. You're going to walk, he whispered. You're actually going to walk. Maybe, Tasha cautioned. Maybe just stand. But either way, it's more than I ever thought possible. Later, after the guests had left and Sophie was in bed, Tasha and Nathan sat in his backyard. The night was clear, stars bright overhead. Tasha had transferred to a patio chair, her wheelchair nearby. I've been thinking about the wedding, Nathan said. About when and where and how. Me too, Tasha admitted. I was thinking maybe spring. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. That sounds perfect. Nathan took her hand. Tasha, I want you to know something. Whether you walk down the aisle or will down the aisle, I don't care. You're everything I want exactly as you are. I know, Tasha said. That's why I love you. I have one more surprise, Nathan said. He pulled out his phone and showed her photographs. I found a property. 20 acres just outside the city. There's a house but also a barn that could be converted. I was thinking, what if we built your dance studio there? A place for adaptive dance programs. A place where kids with disabilities can learn that their bodies are still beautiful and capable. A place to make your dream real. Tasha stared at the photos. The property was gorgeous. Rolling hills. Trees. Open space. And yes, a large barn that could absolutely become a studio. Nathan, that's too much. The cost is an investment in something important. In your vision. In helping kids who need exactly what you can offer. Nathan squeezed her hand. Let me do this. Not because you need me to, but because I want to be part of making this dream happen. Tasha felt tears slip down her cheeks. Okay. Yes. Let's do it. They sat in comfortable silence, holding hands, looking at the stars. Tasha thought about the journey that had brought her here. The accident that had stolen her legs. The 3 years of struggle and loneliness. The day she'd had only $4 for a birthday cake. That day had felt like the end. Like proof that life had nothing left to offer her. But it had been the beginning. The beginning of everything that mattered. She thought about the call to action she'd want to share with anyone hearing her story. If you're struggling, if you're at rock bottom, if you think hope is foolish, it's not. Hope is the bravest thing you can choose. And accepting help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Let people in. Say yes to kindness. You never know which yes will change everything. 6 months later, on a perfect spring morning, Tasha got ready for her wedding. Jerome helped her with her dress, a flowing gown in soft ivory that Sophie had declared the most beautiful dress ever. The wedding was at Cooper Memorial's garden, a space that had become sacred to Tasha. The place where she'd begun to heal. Dr. Morrison and Dr. Walsh were there, along with dozens of patients Tasha had helped during her time as coordinator. Her students from the dance program performed a special routine choreographed in her honor. Nathan's family had flown in from across the country. As the music started, Tasha wheeled herself to the beginning of the aisle. The chairs were arranged with wide spacing, making the path easy to navigate. Flowers bloomed everywhere, their colors bright and hopeful. But then Tasha did something no one expected. She reached for the handles of her wheelchair and slowly, carefully, she stood up. Her legs shook. Her body wavered. Nathan rushed forward to help, but she held up a hand. "I've got this." With Dr. Morrison on one side and Jerome on the other, just for balance, Tasha took a step. Then another. Then another. Slow, unsteady steps down the aisle toward Nathan, who was crying openly. She couldn't walk the whole way. After 10 steps, her legs gave out and she had to use the wheelchair for the rest. But those 10 steps were everything. Proof of how far she'd come. Proof that the impossible could become possible. Nathan met her at the end of the aisle and took both her hands. "You're incredible," he whispered. "We both are," Tasha whispered back. The ceremony was simple and beautiful. Sophie served as flower girl and ring bearer, taking both jobs very seriously. When the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, Sophie shouted, "Nobody better," making everyone laugh. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Nathan promised to support Tasha's dreams, to never make her feel less than, to love her in sickness and health, in wheelchairs and on feet, forever. Tasha promised to let him help, to trust in their love, to build a life together based on honesty and hope, forever. When they kissed, the crowd erupted in applause. Sophie jumped up and down. Jerome wiped his eyes. Dr. Walsh snapped photos furiously. At the reception held in a large tent on the Cooper Memorial grounds, Tasha gave a speech that she'd been practicing for weeks. 3 years ago, I was in my darkest place, she began. I had $4 to my name and no hope for the future. I thought my life was over. That everything good had been taken from me. And then a stranger and his daughter bought me a birthday cake. She looked at Nathan and Sophie, both beaming at her. That simple act of kindness changed everything. It reminded me that good people exist. That help comes from unexpected places. That saying yes to connection even when you're scared is always worth it. She took a breath, emotion thick in her throat. I'm standing here today literally and figuratively because I learned to accept help. Because I learned that needing people doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And because I learned that hope isn't foolish. Hope is survival. Hope is strength. She looked around at all the faces watching her. Patients she'd worked with. Doctors who'd treated her. Friends she'd made. Family who'd stood by her. If you're struggling right now, if you're at your lowest point, if you think things will never get better, please hear me, they can. Help exists. Hope exists. People who will see you and value you and love you exist. You just have to be brave enough to let them in. Brave enough to say yes when kindness is offered. Brave enough to believe you deserve good things. She raised her glass. To yes. To hope. To love. To second chances and new beginnings. To finding your people and building your family. To all of us doing our best with what life has given us. Everyone raised their glasses. To yes, they echoed. The party continued late into the evening. Sophie danced with everyone, her red dress twirling. Jerome gave a toast about what an amazing sister Tasha was. Dr. Walsh announced that the Tasha Brooks Adaptive Dance Scholarship had received its first grant applications and would award 5 scholarships this year. As the sun set, Nathan and Tasha snuck away from the crowd for a moment alone. They stood at the edge of the garden, looking back at the celebration. Happy? Nathan asked. Beyond happy, Tasha said. Grateful. Content. Hopeful. All of it. Ready for whatever comes next? With you? Always. They kissed as the sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. In the distance, they could hear Sophie's laughter and the music playing and the sounds of people celebrating love and life and second chances. Tasha thought about where she'd been and where she was now. About $4 in a bakery and a million dreams come true. About wheelchairs and wedding dresses. About loss and love and the journey between them. Life hadn't turned out the way she'd planned. It had turned out better. Different but better. Because she'd learned that the destination isn't what matters. The journey is. The people you meet along the way. The connections you make. The chances you take. And most importantly, the yes you say when kindness knocks on your door. Ready to start our forever? Nathan asked, offering his arm. Tasha took it, standing on her still unsteady legs. Absolutely ready. They walked back to their celebration together, step by step, ready for whatever came next. Because they had each other. They had Sophie and Jerome. They had a community of people who cared. They had hope and love and endless possibilities. And really, what more could anyone ask for? This story reminds us that rock bottom can be the foundation for something beautiful. That strangers can become family. That accepting help is a form of strength, not weakness. If Tasha's journey moved you, consider how you might show kindness to someone struggling today. How you might say yes when help is offered. How you might be the person who changes someone's life with a simple act of generosity. Please subscribe, comment your thoughts, and share this story with anyone who needs a reminder that hope is always worth holding on to.